Hey guys, tonight, we slip back into a world where saber-tooths haunt the tree lines, where every step on dry leaves might give you away, and where the difference between life and death might just be a well-placed smear of mud. That's right, tonight. We're diving into the wildly surprising things cavewomen actually did to survive and thrive. And spoiler, you probably won't survive this. These women weren't just surviving, they were outmaneuvering the Ice Age like barefoot chess masters. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. I love seeing our little time-traveling tribe around the globe. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink under the pale moonlight, crouched low beside a tree stump slick with sap. The forest around you is still but not quiet. Twigs crackle somewhere off to the right. Could be a deer, could be a bear, could be that saber-tooth again. You grip a stone slathered in drying dung, its stink hiding your human scent beneath layers of rot and fur slick. It's a trick passed down from the elder women, mud dung, even blood, if you're desperate, used to camouflage yourself from the sharpest noses in the forest. You smear a dark streak of riverbank muck under your eyes, not just for camouflage, but also to cut the moon's glare. It's cold and gritty, and somehow makes you feel less like prey. That reflective gleam from your forehead could catch the eye of a predator from across the valley. So you learn to disappear. Back in the cave, no one's sleeping easy. You're part of the midnight shift, one of the 3 women tasked tonight with listening, just listening, for trouble. If a cave lion stalks the camp, it'll be the sharp ear of a cave woman, not the men's spears, that buys time to escape. Contrary to the usual macho daydreams, prehistoric survival often hinged on female alertness, not brute force. Historians still argue whether these night watch roles were shared equally between genders or skewed toward women due to their superior night vision. Yeah, you heard that right. Some researchers believe women may have developed better low-light vision due to evolutionary roles like this one. And speaking of tricks, there's that urine perimeter you helped mark earlier. The stale ammonia smell isn't exactly pleasant, but wild predators, they hate it. Mixed with dung and layered around the camp like an invisible wall, it's one of your people's oldest defense systems. Ironically, you're safer sleeping near your own pee than in a bear-proof shelter. There's also the laughably simple but life-saving decoy, a crude dummy made of mammoth bones, stuffed hide and river weeds, positioned just near the cave entrance. In the dark, it looks human enough to confuse a predator. You helped dress it tonight, draping it in your oldest fur shawl. You muttered thanks to it too. It's gotten you through 2 lion visits already. Now as you slink quietly past the brush to relieve another watcher, you pause by a half-submerged log. There's something odd in the mud, tiny scratch marks. You crouch down, your fingers tracing the slashes. Claw marks, but not from a hunting cat. This was probably a honey badger. Still, it signals a scent trail. Predators often follow each other's routes. So you grab a handful of ash from last night's fire and smear it down the trail. Another old trick, ash masks scent, breaks patterns, and confuses noses. It's one of those weird fringe details passed orally. No one writes it down, obviously, but every woman knows it. Just like how you know not to wear berry juice or fermented fruit near dusk unless you want to be mistaken for prey. Your firelight back at camp flickers subtly in the corner of your vision. You walk toward it slowly, always scanning the trees. You remember the last time you weren't careful. A young girl who wandered too far was found with her ribs cracked, like twigs half buried by something too strong and too hungry. No one said a word about it after the first night. They just painted a warning sign on the cave wall 3 claw marks crossed by a bloody handprint. That wall, it's your first and last checkpoint each time you return. You touch it with your fingers, not superstitious exactly, but respectful. You were taught the marks hold memory. They're not decorations. They're maps, signs, records. As you step inside, the smell of smoke and crushed pine cones wraps around you. One woman sits near the embers, tossing in bits of dried moss. It's not for heat, it's for the insects. Apparently, biting flies hate that smell, and so do the wolves. You lie down on your fur, not really expecting to sleep. You chew a dried bark strip slowly, the bitter taste keeping you half alert. It's not food. It's from a tree known to help with circulation, or maybe that's just lore. Either way, it keeps your mouth busy and your ears open. Your mind drifts to the older woman who taught you all this. She could tell you what kind of predator was coming, just by how the crows scattered. She smeared bear fat in her hair to smell more intimidating. Once you saw her urinate in a circle around a dying fire, claiming it kept the dark spirits of hunger away. You thought she was half mad. Now you do the same silently every winter. You roll onto your side and whisper to the fire like she did, just in case. Outside, a chill wind picks up, carrying the sharp scent of wet stone. Something big just moved across the ridge. Maybe just wind, maybe not. You don't flinch. You just lie still and trust the tricks that have worked this long. The mud, the smoke, the fake figure, the sharp stone in your hand chipped to a wicked edge. That's how cave women lived, not just gathering berries and patting infants, but surviving under pressure with tricks no one bothered to write in textbooks. You don't need a title. You don't need a spear. You have instincts, tricks, and a smear of ash between your fingers. And tonight, it's enough. You wake before the fire fully dies, curled beside a wall of rough stone still warm from the flames. Your eyelids are sticky with ash dust, and your first breath tastes like charred pine and something off. You shift slightly and realize the smoke has changed direction. That's not a good sign. Someone either let the fire dip too low or added something that shouldn't have been thrown in. It's your shift now. You're the firekeeper. While everyone else snores, limbs tangled in furs, you sit up, stretch, and roll your shoulders until something pops loud enough that the woman closest to you grunts in her sleep. Oops. You hold still. No one wakes. Good. Being firekeeper means more than tossing on sticks and humming to flames. It means guarding your tribe's warmth, light, and signal system. And tonight, it also means fixing a subtle mistake. You crouch beside the coal's fingers, trained to hover just above without getting scorched. The glow's weak, but still alive, just hidden under an unburned wedge of damp moss. No wonder the smell changed. You lift it out, toss it aside, and feed in a few dry shavings from your thigh pouch. A quick puff of breath, and there it is. A gentle roar of orange pushing back against the dark. You feel its heat bloom like trust. Being the firekeeper is its own kind of power, and back then, you didn't hand it over lightly. Historians still argue whether it was mostly women or men who maintained the fire across different regions, but a growing number believe women were the primary keepers in many tribes. It makes sense. Fire connects to cooking, birthing, healing, and guarding, all things traditionally tied to the maternal. But it wasn't some homey gig. It was dangerous, strategic, political. And you wield it like a queen with a burning scepter. See, it's not just about staying warm. Your fire also communicates. During the dry season, when tribes scatter across the hills, your smoke speaks in shapes. Spiral curls mean peace. Sharp jabs, danger. A forked trail says someone was here, someone left, someone's watching. The smoke has grammar. And as keeper, you decide the sentence. You lean out from the cave mouth, now watching the first threads rise. You add bark dust from a pouch to thicken the signal smoke that clings low instead of floating up and disappearing. That's the trick you learned from a passing woman years ago, a trader with jaguar teeth in her braid. She said it made the difference between being found by friends or by something else. Behind you, a few people stir. The baby wakes first, soft mewling like a shrew. You ignore it. That's not your job. You're on fire duty. But not just literal fire, emotional fire too. Because you're also the one who can shift the mood of the camp with a flick of flame. You ever notice how some people fight more when the light's too bright, or how shadows on the cave wall start to look like moving shapes? You do. So tonight you angle a stone reflector to dim the back area, just enough to soothe, to settle. And when the young woman with the missing fingers comes over, red-eyed and silent, you wordlessly move aside to let her take warmth from your side. No questions. You hand her a stick of glowing coal, though knowing full well what she plans. She wants to smoke out the lice in her hair. She'll probably burn half a tuft off again. But you've done it too. You give her a nod that says, "I get it." There's also the matter of sabotage. Because let's not pretend every tribe member is on the same side. Sometimes a little too much green wood ends up on the pile. Or someone accidentally kicks ash over your cooking pit just before your turn to eat. Firekeeping. It's also about vigilance. Just last week, you caught the quiet boy, the one who mumbles to himself, trying to light a second fire away from the main circle, in secret. Could have been harmless. Could have been an escape plan. Or worse, a lure. You stomped it out, cuffed his ear, and told the elders. But not before making sure he saw you pour water into the coal pot, just so he knew who controls the spark. It's not about cruelty. It's about order. Firekeepers maintain hierarchy. And in this tribe, hierarchy is survival. You shift again this time to rotate the drying meat rack toward the new flames. Even that is strategic. Facing the strips the right way keeps scavengers from smelling them too soon. Plus, if you rotate too fast, the meat gets tough. Too slow, and it molds. It's all timing, like playing a smoky harp with teeth and gristle. You once heard a tale from an elder about a woman who kept fire in a hollow bone strapped under her furs. Even during migration. She carried it across valleys and snow, feeding it mouse hairs and bone dust to keep it breathing. Fringe theory, maybe. But in your dreams, she walks beside you. There's a debate among anthropologists about how early humans maintained fire through long migrations. Some say fire was always made fresh. Others argue tiny embers were preserved and carried in hide bundles, often by women who could feel temperature shifts on their skin. You'd believe the latter. After all, you've walked 3 days with a hot coal under your armpit wrapped in bark. And guess what? It worked. Now, as you feed the fire one last chunk of dried wood, you look around the sleeping bodies. You see the shape of your own mother's back curled tight like a question mark. You see the wide shoulders of the lead hunter rising and falling with deep breaths. You see the twin sisters who always sleep head to head, like roots tangled underground. And you think, not for the first time, how funny it is that this is your dominion. Not the hunt, not the council, but this smoldering, unpredictable heart of the group. You reach into your pouch again and pull out a flint stone you've carved with simple lines, a circle, a spiral, and a flame. It's not for trade. It's your reminder that when you leave, someone else will take your seat, and she'll need to know where to place the coals, how to whisper the smoke, when to let it rage, and when to let it burn down to embers so quiet that even predators think your people are already dead. Because that's the real trick of being a firekeeper. You don't just warm the tribe, you shield its secrets in smoke. You sit at the edge of a grassy rise, back resting against a warm stone slab, knees drawn up to your chest. Above you, the stars drift lazily across the night sky, familiar and constant. And yet here's the strange part. They're not just decorations. They're your calendar, your quiet journal. And more importantly, they sync with your blood. No one tells you that your cycle is part of a larger rhythm. You have to learn that on your own, usually after enough bleeds and enough moons to notice. At first it seems like a cruel coincidence, but then patterns emerge. You mark each bleed with a small scratch on the cave wall, and soon they start lining up with the moon's fullness. A lunar calendar tracked in blood, intimate, inevitable. It turns out your body isn't just a womb, it's a weather vane. Your group's movements aren't random. They're quietly, stubbornly dictated by the cycles of those who menstruate. When enough women sync up, the hunters take notice. There's more to it than whispers and discomfort. Animal behavior shifts around this time too. Some predators pick up the scent. Some prey become bolder. The world reacts. The tribe adjusts. Historians still argue whether menstrual synchrony truly occurred in prehistoric groups, or is more myth than reality, but in your world, it might as well be gospel. You're not alone in this knowledge. The elder women have a name for this time of month, something close to red tide, though the sounds they use click and pulse like rain on leaves. During this tide, certain decisions are postponed. Migrations, trade meetings, even large hunts. It's not superstition, it's strategy. You're part of the small council that decides whether the tribe should move this week or wait until the next moon phase. And yes, your input matters. Your bleeding matters. You lean forward and tap the flat stone next to you with a bone stylus. Another notch. Another day. The rock's already covered with hundreds of scratches from generations before you. It's less stone diary, more bleeding ledger. One that helps you predict when game will move through the valley, when roots are ripe enough to harvest, and oddly enough, when the river fish swim close to the banks in groups. Nobody told you this would happen. Nobody taught it like a formal lesson. You picked it up through observation, through repetition, through pain. And oh, there's pain. You remember one of your first tides when the cramps hit so hard you thought you'd been hexed. You cried beside a fire for hours until an older girl handed you a flat chunk of smoothed obsidian, still warm from sitting atop a rock. She told you to press it between your thighs, right at the fold of your hip. You did. The warmth helped. Then she fed you a bitter root to chew, a natural painkiller strong enough to make you a little dizzy. You passed out. You woke up dry-eyed and hollowed out. You still thank her every time you see her, though she doesn't remember it. Or pretends not to. Your people have dozens of tricks for easing period pains. Heated stones, smoke poultices, massages with fermented bear fat. One of the stranger but surprisingly effective tricks involves sitting over a steaming pot of pine needles. It clears your sinuses and your cramps. You tried it once, nearly passed out. 5 stars. Would recommend. But here's the wilder part. Your blood isn't just a signal of pain or weakness. It's power. In certain moments, it becomes ritual. You mix your blood with ochre to mark cave walls, not out of shame but intention. When you leave a handprint stained with that mix, it says you were here in a way nothing else can. It says this was my body, my moment, my time. Some cave markings, the spirals, the vertical slashes, are believed by your people to represent the bleed. Whether that's true in modern analysis or not, it's how you interpret them. The older symbols seem to map cycles, yours, your sisters, your daughters. They serve as warnings, as invitations, as echoes. And then there's the fringe belief, the one whispered by firelight and never loudly. That blood has memory, that during red tide visions come easier. You remember seeing your dead grandmother once, plain as day, crouched by the stream and laughing as if she hadn't rotted away seasons ago. You don't talk about that much, but when another woman mentions dreaming of buried caves and speaking bones during her cycle, you meet her eyes. Quiet nod. Shared secret. In fact, some elders call it the thin time, a window when the walls between the living and the gone wear thin. You don't know if it's true, but when you bleed, you light different herbs. You wear red beads. You sleep closer to the cave wall, just in case. Not all women bleed the same. The young ones track in confusion, whispering questions and marveling at how off they are. You remember that feeling. You tell them to give it time. Some won't sync with the others for years, if ever. And some, like the old firekeeper, have stopped bleeding altogether. But she says she still feels it like a tide beneath skin. Her dreams run red. She still scratches notches out of habit. Tonight, you run your thumb over your most recent mark. You count forward. You think ahead. Another full moon, and the tribe will move again. Not because the food is low or the firewood is gone, but because the tide will tell you it's time. And the hunters, despite their growls and blades and painted chests, will follow you. You smile at that. Quiet power tastes different. It simmers instead of roars. Then you hear a giggle, two younger girls crouched nearby, whispering about how they're trying to sink. As if it's a game. They eat from the same bowl, sleep head to head. They smear each other with red clay and pretend they're wise women. It's foolish and a little charming. You were them once. One of them catches you watching and blushes. You wink. Let them believe it's magic. Let them laugh now. Soon enough, they'll learn that this rhythm is as serious as the hunt. And when the time comes, they'll scratch their own marks into the stone, lean back, and understand why you always sit here with your knees drawn tight and your gaze fixed on the sky. It's not just blood. It's a compass. You squat beside the fresh kill blood, slicking your fingers, seeping into the cracks beneath your nails. It's still warm. The head, split neatly in two by a riverstone axe, has begun to cool, the thick, meaty scent of marrow calling flies from the trees. The men who made the kill are already hauling off the haunches, talking loud, making a show of who struck first. You don't care. You're not here for meat. You're here for the brain. It's the best part, and no, not for the reason they think. Sure, it's rich in fat, and fat is liquid gold in this lean season. But more importantly, you need it to tan skins, to soften leather, and if you're being honest, to rub a little on your cheekbones. That last one isn't functional, but it is fashion. A bit of brain makes the skin glow in a way that turns heads. It's cavewoman contouring. Fringe theory, maybe. But when you see how the firelight hits your cheek later, you'll feel a bit smug about it. You grip a split femur and crack it with practiced ease against a flat rock. The noise is wet final. From the hollow center oozes the marrow, creamy pale and almost sweet-smelling. You suck out a mouthful, ignoring the side-eye from a boy nearby. He'll understand when he's older. Marrow is fuel, brain is trade, bone is beauty. Historians agree that prehistoric humans, especially women, were proficient in extracting and consuming marrow and brain tissue for survival. But what they don't always say is just how ritualized the act became over time, how it wasn't just about calories, but about status. You've got a satchel made of deer gut tucked at your side. You open it now and slide the glistening brain into a tight pouch lined with moss and herbs to slow the rot. You've got plans for this one. Later tonight, you'll boil it down with ash and crushed bark. You'll spread it over a half-dried hide, rubbing it in with a flat stone until the surface softens. It's a messy, smelly task, but the result's stunning. The skin turns buttery, pliable, resistant to rain and cold. The women who wear your brain-softened leathers are instantly admired. There's a particular shade, light brown, with an almost reddish gloss that everyone wants this season. And yes, Cavewomen had seasons. Not like spring and fall, more like social trends. This month, it's all about spiral shoulder cuts and fringed edges. And who sets those trends? Not the hunters, not the elders. You. The women who break bones and tan skins and turn death into display. You remember the first time you realized bones could be beautiful. You were about 9, watching an older girl polish a fox jaw until it shone like ivory. She wore it on a leather cord around her neck, and everyone knew it had belonged to her kill. She didn't brag. She didn't need to. That bone did all the talking. So you started collecting. You have a stash buried beneath a ledge near the fire pit. Shards of skulls, carved ribs, a finger bone, probably human, smoothed into a flute. You don't ask where it came from. You don't play it often. But it's yours. Some of the older women say beauty is survival. That the more striking you look, the more allies you gather. That pretty faces get softer words, extra roots, safer places near the fire. You think there's truth in that, but you also think there's power in grotesque beauty, in decorating yourself with teeth, in wearing a jawbone as a crown, in lining your eyes with ash to look just a little inhuman. You dip your hands into a shallow pool nearby, washing away the gore with slow, deliberate motions. The cold stings, but you don't flinch. You spot a few thin fish darting under the moss, and for a moment you watch their rhythm. They don't know you're here. They don't care that you've cracked open a skull. Life continues. Blood feeds soil. Soil feeds roots. Roots feed prey. Prey feeds you. And in return, you wear their bones like love letters. Back at the cave, you spread your latest skins near the fire, checking for imperfections. A wrinkle here, a rough patch there. You smooth them out. You dab a mix of charcoal and bear grease along the seams, not just to keep them sealed, but to draw faint designs. Curves, spirals, hidden meanings only other women will read. There's one you sew for the old healer, a tall cloak lined with rabbit fur, stitched with tiny bone shards along the hem. Each shard bears a mark, a healed wound, a cured fever, a safe birth. She'll wear it at the next gathering, and when she walks, it'll rattle like whispers. People will notice. You'll notice them noticing. It's a silent celebration. Meanwhile, a younger girl watches you from the corner. She's maybe 7, eyes too big for her face. She's holding a shattered rib, clearly confused about what to do with it. You call her over and show her how to sand the edge against rough stone. You hum as you do it. No reason, just something your own mother used to do. She hums back, a little off-key, but it makes you smile. Historians debate whether these kinds of skill-sharing rituals were gendered or communal, whether young girls were deliberately trained or just absorbed the work by existing near it. But the truth, at least in your world, is that everything is teaching. Every cracked bone, every stitched seam, it's all inherited. You finish the edge for her, hand it back, and she scurries away, gleeful, dangerous. By dusk, the cave fills with firelight and gossip. A few new pelts hang in the entryway, dyed with crushed berries and brain-tanned to perfection. You spot one of your older works on the broad back of the hunting chief's wife. She hasn't acknowledged you in weeks. Tonight she makes eye contact. She nods once. That's currency. Someone calls for a story and the healer stands. Her cloak sways. The bones sing. People hush. She begins with the story of the woman who fed her children by cracking skulls and boiling brains, even when the others spat at her for it. She tells it like a warning, like a praise song. You feel the corners of your mouth curl because you know the truth. Cave women didn't just gather berries and cradle infants. They cracked skulls open for survival and turned the pieces into art. You dangle from the edge of a tree, bare feet, gripping the bark, one hand buried in a hole thick with bees and broken wax. Your fingers are already swelling with stings. You don't care. You've come for honey, and cave women don't leave empty-handed. You mutter a curse under your breath as another bee zips into your ear. The trick, as your aunt always said, is to stay calm. Easier said than done when you're half naked 20 feet up and a cloud of furious insects is trying to defend their sugar vault. You reach again, this time with a bone spoon coated in spit and ash. Spit helps. Sort of. Something about the enzymes makes the bees hesitate, or maybe it's just that your ancestors were desperate enough to try everything, and this one sometimes works. You scoop fast, flick the honey into your shoulder pouch lined with dried leaves, and climb down slowly, wincing at each sting as if it were just a love tap from the sky. Your tribe calls it the sun's blood. Honey, gold for the tongue. And you're one of the few willing to chase it. It's not just about taste, though, let's be honest, there's nothing else like it. Thick, warm, almost floral if you chew the wax long enough. But honey is also medicine. Preserver, weapon. Later back at the cave, you'll press it into wounds and watch it draw out infection. You'll mix it with mashed berries to ferment into a sleep draft. You'll smear it over raw meat to delay the stink. And sometimes, if you're in a petty mood, you'll use it to bait a line of fire ants into someone's sleeping mat. All's fair in cave drama. There's even a ritual you remember from your grandmother. She used to dip her fingers in honey and press them to the cave wall before a hunt. Said it made the prey sweet and stupid. You're not sure about the magic part, but you still do it. For luck. And now, as you sit cross-legged beside the fire picking bits of wax from your skin, you unwrap your pouch and hold it open for the others. The children crowd close first. Of course they do. Their eyes go wide, mouths open like baby birds. You give them the scraped dregs, just enough for a taste, a sticky smudge across a palm. The adults are more reserved. The hunter chief glances over, then looks away. You see the twitch of his nose. He wants it, but pride gets in the way. You offer a smear on a scrap of bark and say nothing. He takes it. Doesn't thank you, doesn't need to. In your tribe, honey is currency. It doesn't get traded casually. You carry it in spit-sealed packets, small, flat leaves chewed until pliable, then folded like gifts. You tuck them into crevices in the wall marked by symbols only you and the other gatherers understand. Sometimes you'll leave one near the fire pit to mend a rift. Sometimes near someone's bedroll if they've caught your eye. Honey is both offering and message. Historians agree that prehistoric humans prized honey and likely risked great danger to obtain it. Some cave art, like the famous honey hunter painting in Spain, shows humans scaling cliffs to reach wild hives. But what those studies don't always capture is the sheer audacity of it. You've been stung so many times, your body barely bothers swelling. One eye's half closed tonight. You're still smiling. The fringe knowledge around honey runs deeper. Some say it can trap spirits, especially if dripped into a fire. You once watched an old woman hiss a name into the flames while letting a honeyed twig burn slow and loud. A week later, her rival broke her ankle falling off a cliff. Coincidence, sure. But you never forget that scene. There's also a long-standing whisper among your people that honeyed breath attracts dreams. You've tested it. You've gone to sleep with it smeared along your teeth. Once you dreamed of running through fields taller than trees, chasing glowing rabbits with your dead cousin. It was vivid. You woke up crying and sticky. But it's not all magic and honey sugar highs. There's also the issue of keeping it. Preservation's a constant headache. You bury it in cool pits lined with mint leaves and moss. You wrap it tight and hope no scavenger smells it. Once you caught a fox with its head stuck in your stash jar, a hollowed bone plugged with mud and pine gum. It looked at you like it had no regrets. You skin it anyway. Fox pelts are in season. Tonight, your little hoard is hidden under a flat stone warmed by the fire. You take a moment to pull it free, check the seal, and repack it. The smell is heavenly. You sneak a taste. Just one lick. It coats your mouth, trickles into your throat, smooth as silk and wickedly rich. You glance across the cave at a rival of yours, another woman, same age, prettier than you, allegedly, and currently pretending she's not eyeing your pouch. She never gathers honey, says it's child's work. Yet here she is, watching you like you invented flavor. You tear off a wax glob, walk over and hand it to her without a word. She takes it, nods once. The truce lasts maybe half a day. You return to your spot by the fire, feeling slightly smug. Another unspoken rule: the gatherer of honey gets the first bite of any sweet dish. You've got mashed roots boiling over coals right now, and when it's ready, you'll be the one to crown it with sugar amber gold. Everyone will pretend not to care. Everyone will care deeply. Some say the honeybee is the true matriarch, an insect queen, with 1,000 servants and a sting sharp enough to rival any spear. You like that thought. You whisper it to yourself as you wrap up the last of your harvest and smear the lingering stings with a salve of moss and spit. It burns, but in the best way. And as you settle in, licking one sticky finger while the others hum a low song of evening, you remember the joke your grandmother used to say, right before letting bees crawl across her knuckles. You want to survive, little one. Find what stings and take it anyway. You crouch in the shadows, knees pressed into cool stone, and grip a strip of chewed leather between your teeth to keep from screaming. Your stomach tightens again, wringing itself like wet fabric. This is the third contraction in as many breaths, and it's not easing up. You're giving birth tonight silently in the dark, under a mound of musk-scented animal skins, with only the stone wall at your back and the soft panting of a midwife beside you. This is not how the stories describe it. There's no gentle glow, no triumphant howl, no circle of cooing onlookers. There is blood. There is trembling. There is the sharp tang of fear because the wolves have been howling since dusk. You know this cave. You've lived in its belly for years. But in this moment, it feels unfamiliar, hostile even. The flicker of fire from the main chamber doesn't reach here, which is deliberate. Birth attracts attention, and attention is dangerous. Predators can smell it. Rival tribes might hear it. So here you are, biting down on pain, trying not to make a sound louder than your own heartbeat. Your midwife, an older woman with hands like river stones, leans close and whispers something. You don't hear her. All you hear is your own breath, jagged and fast, echoing against the rock. She tightens the binding around your belly. You feel like you're being sewn into yourself. The baby is almost here. There's no bed, no cushion, just layered hides over a slab of slate warmed by firestones hours ago. Still, it's better than giving birth outside where the cold would steal your strength and the foxes would circle like ghosts. You've heard stories of women who delivered in trees, legs dangling, teeth clenched with no one there to catch. You're lucky. You have hands guiding yours. A warm skin held beneath you to catch what falls. Historians still argue whether cave births were communal affairs or hushed private ceremonies. You can confirm, at least in your clan, they're deadly quiet affairs. No celebration until the baby cries. No cries until the world says it's safe. And right now, the world is not safe. Your body shudders again. Something shifts deep inside you, an unmistakable pull downward. The midwife grabs your knee and grunts softly. Time. You bear down, and every muscle answers like it's tearing loose from bone. You bite the leather harder, taste your own spit and the memory of salt. Then something slick, wet, a release. A silence heavier than stone follows. You stare into the dark. The air goes still. Your heart pounds. Then there it is. A whimper. The smallest, angriest sound you've ever heard. The midwife huffs, almost laughing, and lifts a squirming, dark thing into your arms. Covered in blood and something thicker. The head is huge. The arms flail. The legs kick with the fury of life. You laugh, then sob, then wheeze out both at once. The midwife cuts the cord with a flint shard and ties it fast with a thread pulled from your own hair. You've done it. You hold the child close, letting its body find your heartbeat. Skin on skin, bone against bone. It's a girl. The thought hits you like a falling tree. A daughter. In this world. You blink hard, then whisper your thanks not to a god, but to the stone, the fire, the leather strip still in your teeth. This is where the work begins. There's a strange taboo among your people. You don't speak the baby's name aloud for the first few weeks. It's believed that names draw spirits and newborns are too soft to defend themselves. So for now, you call her Little Stone. The name is quiet, solid, meant to keep her anchored. You wrap her in a strip of dried rabbit skin still warm from the midwife's hip pouch and press her close to your chest. She squirms, snorts, then falls quiet. You feel her tiny heart thudding fast and shallow. The midwife checks your afterbirth, mutters something approving, then rubs your legs with a warming paste made of animal fat, crushed mint, and ash. You know this smell. You've used it on others. You never thought you'd smell it on yourself. They will not celebrate you until morning. It's too risky to draw attention. No one will shout or drum or paint your name tonight. But the cave does shift slightly, people moving more gently. A woman sets another log on the fire. A child offers you a root mash. No words. Just the rituals of welcome. You lie back holding the child and stare at the ceiling. The stones above you are jagged, smoky with soot. But you know every bump, every curve. You've stared at them through winters and fever dreams. Now they seem new, like they're watching. Tomorrow the elders will check her for omens. A twisted toe, a mark behind the ear, anything to suggest power or curse. Some say the shape of a baby's skull tells you their fate. Others believe the way the placenta falls says more than anything the baby ever does. You don't believe all that, but you'll let them look. You'll let them mark her if they must. Because that's part of surviving too, navigating the rituals, the scrutiny, the invisible net of expectation. What they won't see is how strong she already is, how she cried the moment she could, how she latched like a warrior, her tiny fists already claiming skin and warmth and space. She is yours, and you are changed. Fringe belief says that birth changes your scent, that your body rewires itself, reshuffles your memories, that a piece of the child stays inside you, nestled like a forgotten pebble under your ribs. You believe it. You feel it. You are no longer just woman. You are root, shelter, map. Later, the other women will bring hot broth and burnt herb water. Someone will offer you a carved stone as a gift, a baby tooth pendant, a symbol. The younger girls will pretend not to look too long, but they'll memorize everything: the position of your legs, the way the baby sleeps, the way you winced but didn't scream. You've taught them already. You shift your weight and tuck little stone tighter into your chest. She grumbles, then sighs. Her breath is warm against your collarbone. You hum low. Not a song exactly, just a vibration. A reminder that you are here, that you are not afraid. Outside the cave, the wolves are still calling, but they're farther now. You rest your head against the wall and let your eyes drift shut. The cave has taken your blood, but it gave you something in return. And you will teach your daughter how to bleed and how to survive. You thread sinew through a fishbone needle, fingers stiff from cold posture, hunched against the cave wall's steady drip. Outside, snow silences everything. No bird calls, no crunching paws, no wind. Inside, the only sound is the rhythmic tug of thread through mammoth hide, a soft shh that might as well be a heartbeat. Tonight, you're sewing survival. But if you're honest, you're also sewing style. The hide is massive, cut from a woolly rhinoceros brought down 3 moons ago. It took 8 people to drag it to camp, and twice that many to peel and cure its hide. Now it's soft, like tree moss, and smells faintly of smoked marrow. You drape it across your lap and begin stitching an over-shoulder wrap for the hunter chief's eldest daughter. She's picky. She wants something high status, which you've translated to mean dramatic but still warm. You add fringe, thin strips of tendon-dyed hair and tuck 2 smoothed antler buttons near the collarbone for flair. A prestige touch. Not necessary, but she'll be noticed. Cave fashion is more than warmth. It's identity, rank, desire. And you, dear cavewoman, are right in the middle of the prehistoric fashion week. Across the cave, another woman is knotting bark fibers into a tunic, her pattern less precise than yours. She's a functional dresser, no adornments. You remember that time you lined your sleeves with fox teeth just enough to make the cave shimmer when you moved. The memory still makes you smile. Historians acknowledge that early humans decorated their clothing, especially those who lived in colder climates. But what's less documented is the nuance behind those decorations. A twist of dyed fur could signify mourning, a bone clasp, fertility. And that green-tinted wrap you made last season definitely got you 3 extra root bundles from a trader who liked green. You sew fast now, knowing the girl will be by soon for a fitting. You work in patterns that mean something: zigzags for protection, dots for lineage. Not everyone can read them, but those who can will whisper about your choices. That's half the fun. Someone near the fire is scraping lichen off a stone. You smell it, a sharp tang like moss and ash. It's used for dyeing. You've done it yourself, boiling bark until it stains leather in deep reds and ghosty grays. There's a whole palette in your mind, and you've memorized what grows where, which fungus yields what hue. Ochre and charcoal basic, snail slime and boiled berries advanced. Fringe knowledge maybe, but it works. You once used crushed beetles to color a tunic, hem bright purple. It faded in the rain, but left behind a bluish hue that everyone admired, even after they knew it was bug juice. The hunter chief's daughter arrives mid-stitch, nose wrinkled, eyeing the hide. She doesn't thank you, she never does, but she runs her hand across the material, then nods, approval granted. You hold the cloak up, drape it across her shoulders, adjust the fit. She stands tall, suddenly aware of how the hem sways with her step. You added a slit at the hip for movement. She notices. She doesn't say anything, but she notices. Later, when she walks through camp with her new cloak, others will pause mid-bite. Someone will cough awkwardly and glance away. The girl will pretend not to notice, but she'll smile when she thinks no one's watching. You watch. In the back of the cave, there's a rack of older designs. Archive pieces, some for trade, some ceremonial. One is yours from your coming-of-age season deer hide tanned with brain and spit lined with rabbit fur. You carved your first mark into its hem with a sharpened pebble. It's still there. You run your fingers across it sometimes, remembering how heavy it felt, how proud you were, how cold your feet were because you hadn't figured out boots yet. Ah yes, boots. You're working on a pair now for your sister's daughter. Her last ones fell apart in the swamp. These will be knee-high, stuffed with dry grass wrapped in sinew spirals. Stylish and silent for stalking prey. You've seen her eyeing your own boots, the ones with the bear claw toe guards. She's getting close to her first solo hunt. You'll leave them near her bedroll when she's ready. She'll know. Every woman in your tribe has a favorite stitch. Yours is the double loop. Strong and elegant. It curves like a river when you pull it tight. You teach it to the younger girls when they ask. Some pretend not to care, but the moment they break a seam, they come crawling back. There's an older woman, half blind now, who once stitched an entire wedding robe using only thorns. No sinew, no thread, just thorns and patience. The robe is still here, kept in a dry alcove wrapped in smoke-stained fur. It's brittle now, but beautiful. Sacred. You think about what might be sacred centuries from now. Will someone find your cloak, your spiral stitches, and wonder what they meant? Will they trace the hem with gloved fingers and guess wrong? Probably, you hope so. Some of your garments tell stories. There's the one with the wolf's ear stitched into the collar, a trophy from a kill that nearly took your arm. The ear was a warning to both beast and tribe. Another tunic stained green with moss juice was worn during the famine. Everyone wore green that year like it would trick the land into growing again. One cloak, a rare white hide with raven feathers at the shoulders, was worn during a trial. A woman accused of stealing a child. She wore it defiantly. She was exiled. The cloak was left behind. No one will wear it now, but no one will throw it out either. You keep sewing. Your fingers are cracked. There's blood under one nail. You use your teeth to pull a stubborn sinew tight and tie it off with a flick of the wrist. You dab spit on the final knot just to have it. You call it sealing the warmth. That's what clothing is to you, sealed warmth. Wrapped meaning. Tonight you'll wear your oldest cloak, the one patched so many times it looks like a map of bad decisions. It smells like smoke and wet leaves, but it fits you perfectly. And in a world where everything is either too sharp or too soft, that's something. And when you step out into the cold and someone stops mid-step just to look twice, that's everything. You run your fingers along the wall, tracing a faded spiral carved decades ago by hands long gone. The soot has dulled it, moss has crept over its curves, but you still know what it means. Safe passage, friendly ground, return welcome, a message carved not for beauty, but for memory. And now it's your turn to speak. You spit on your thumb and smear a streak of red ochre across the stone. The pigment is thick, made from crushed earth and mixed with animal fat. It smells like iron and ash. You grind your knuckle into it, shaping a line that arcs sharply upward. Not a symbol anyone else will understand, just a little joke between you and another cavewoman who knows to look for it. A message. Maybe a warning. Maybe flirtation. Maybe both. Cave art isn't about making things pretty. It's about saying things you can't say out loud. You take a step back, brush grit from your palms, and nod. Good enough. Behind you, the rest of the cave is alive with whispers and snorts, fire crackles, and chewing sounds. No one notices you ducking into the side chamber. That's part of the game. These walls, they're your canvas, your diary, your gossip column. Historians always talk about cave paintings in reverent tones, like all of them were spiritual, grand, mystical. But they forget something crucial. Cave women were bored sometimes. You doodle. You scrawl dirty jokes. You once etched a crude sketch of a rival's flat nose just to make the other girls laugh. It's still there under a smear of bear fat someone slapped over it. That one got you into trouble. Worth it. There are handprints here too small to be yours. Children's. Maybe yours from years ago. You don't remember. They're layered over in white ash, some with dots around the fingers, like little suns. No one knows exactly what that pattern means. Historians still argue whether dot clusters symbolized social status hunting roles, or even fertility. You think maybe it was just decoration. Sometimes people do things because it looks good. You dip a finger into the ochre again and draw a new mark, 2 slashes crossed by a spiral. That one's for your sister. She's been gone 4 seasons now, but if she ever comes back, she'll see it and know. You were here. You're alive. The world's still a mess. The cave walls talk. You just have to learn the language. Some of the older messages are cryptic. There's a series of lines near the ceiling no one touches. Rumor says they mark the death count from a winter starvation. Every scratch, a name. Or maybe they just kept tally of how many nights the wolves circled without attacking. Hard to say. The marks are shallow, frantic. You don't stare at them long. Farther down near the ground is a cluster of animal outlines, deer, bear, mammoth, done in charcoal and clay. You recognize the style. It's the work of Smoke Tongue, a woman who died seasons ago, famous for her strange chants and the way she painted with both hands at once. Her mammoths always look like they're in motion. Her wolves have human eyes. Someone once tried to paint over her work. That didn't go well. The woman who tried woke with her hair braided into knots so tight she couldn't breathe. No one claimed it. But everyone knew. Cave gossip is savage, and it lives forever in pigment. You move to a corner where the stone dips into a basin, a perfect echo chamber. You whisper a name into the hollow, and it comes back warped. You do this every time you leave a message here. It's a ritual, personal, weird, helps you feel seen. Nearby, a friend joins you grinning like she's already got something scandalous planned. She pulls a lump of wet clay from her satchel and starts forming something quick, dirty lines. A stick figure, a spear, a tiny hand raised in what could be surrender or sass. You both laugh. Then she adds an exaggerated nose and a broken tooth. You nod. Obvious who that is. Everyone knows the spear-borrowing freeloader in camp. Even if he sees it, he won't know it's him. But everyone else will. That's the fun of it. You etch a comment underneath. Something simple. He forgets to watch his back. It could mean anything. That's the point. Your friend slaps your arm. You grin. You've just published the Paleolithic equivalent of a roast. Back in the main chamber, someone coughs a song into life, soft, rhythmic. You know the one. It's a teasing melody usually sung while painting fertility marks. You glance at your friend. She's already rolled her eyes. You join in anyway, humming while smearing a lazy swirl beside the door. You add a line beneath it. That one's more serious. A symbol for bad weather coming. That's part of the wall's job too. It's not just for jokes or art. It's for news. If a hunter spotted strange tracks near the cliffs, someone draws a footprint. If a baby was stillborn, a curled spiral appears under a handprint. If someone came back from exile, they get a new mark beside their old one. That last part, rare. The wall remembers what people don't dare say. You scratch a crescent shape beneath your sister's spiral, just in case. You've seen other caves where the art is tight, controlled, pristine. Yours is chaos, layers over layers. You like it that way, like the wall's alive, always shifting, like it doesn't care what anyone thinks. There's even a spot reserved for travelers, outsiders. If they're trusted enough to enter, they get to leave a mark. Some are beautiful spirals you don't understand, stickmen riding things that aren't even animals you've seen. One left a mark that looked like a twisted star. He said it meant he was lost but trying. You added a mark next to it. So are we. Not every mark survives. Sometimes a feud breaks out and someone scrapes a symbol away. That's how you know things are really bad. Erasure is rare. It's the cave's version of exile. You finish your latest smear, a long swoop down the wall that almost looks like a claw. You're not sure what it means yet. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Time will decide. As you walk away, you glance back once. Your friend is still working on her insult, drawing, lips pressed tight in concentration. Someone else is nearby, scratching tally marks next to the fire symbols. And just beyond that, a child is dipping her hand into soot and pressing it to the wall, giggling. That handprint won't last, but maybe it will. Maybe 10 winters from now, someone will see it and smile. And maybe they'll whisper your names. You press your teeth into a lump of damp gray earth and instantly regret it. It tastes like old metal and tree rot, like something meant to stay underground forever. But you chew anyway, jaw working the paste, until it softens and settles into your mouth like cold clay. You've done this before. It's not a snack, it's medicine. Sort of. You're eating dirt. Technically, you're eating geophagic clay, but your ancestors didn't call it that. You just know it stops. The cramps settles the sickness and soaks up whatever bad thing you accidentally swallowed 2 days ago when you mistook poisonous berries for the blue ones that don't kill you. Historians know that many ancient peoples ate soil for survival. They'll tell you it helped with mineral intake or acted as a natural detoxifier. What they rarely mention is that it also kept you sane when your gut turned against you in the middle of a 5-day winter fast. Or that you sometimes crave the grit the way others crave sweetness. Like the earth is whispering, come back inside. You spit out the last bit onto a leaf and wipe your tongue. The texture always gets you. Chalky, sticky. But your belly already feels calmer. Your little cousin is watching, crouched nearby, eyes wide. You pick up a smooth pebble and hand it to her. Don't chew this one, you say. She giggles and immediately puts it in her mouth anyway. Kids. You're on path duty today, navigating one of the underground tunnels that leads to a freshwater stream beneath the stone ridge. It's not exactly a scenic route, low ceiling, wet walls, the smell of moss and animal breath curling through every crack. But you know this tunnel better than your own skin. Because this tunnel glows. You kneel, brushing aside damp leaves and uncovering a patch of soft, pulsing moss. It shines faintly greenish-yellow, like fungus dreaming. You smile. Here it is, the glow moss. Somewhere between plant and mystery, this lichen grows only in caves so deep that light never touches them. And yet, it glows like a firefly that's forgotten how to move. Your people don't know why. You don't need to. You use it for direction, for decoration, for medicine, even as soft night lamps when babies won't stop crying. Tonight, you'll crush some of it into a paste and smear it on the tips of your walking stick. That way, when you move through the darkness, it will shimmer slightly ahead of you, just enough to see, not enough to be seen. A stealthy lantern. You collect a few glowing tufts into a bark bowl and cover them with a damp leaf to keep them cool. As you do, you hear a sharp sound behind you, like breath hissing between teeth. You spin, heart thumping, only to find a shrew sniffing the edge of your path. Still, it's a reminder down here you're never alone. You keep walking, navigating the tunnel by touch. Your left hand skims the wall. You count the texture changes. 3 smooth spots, 1 ridge, that sharp protrusion like a broken tooth, time to duck. You bend just in time to avoid splitting your scalp open. These are your maps, not drawn, not painted, felt. Historians still debate how early humans navigated without consistent tools or maps. But here you trust your fingers more than your eyes. You once found your way out of a cave collapse just by following the scent of crushed pine resin left behind when someone's torch brushed a wall too fast. The floor shifts slightly, and your foot lands in something soft, wet. You freeze. Reach down. It's scat. Not human, not bear. Maybe lynx. You smear some on a stick and hold it to your nose. You grimace. Bitter. Heavy. Pregnant female, maybe. Which means she's nesting. Which means she's nearby. You decide not to linger. You mark the wall with a charcoal slash, a warning to others, and move quickly. You sing softly under your breath, a rhythm to keep your steps even. Not for courage, for memory. This song marks time. Later, when you emerge from the tunnel and your eyes sting in the pale daylight, the children run to greet you. You hand the glow moss to the healer's apprentice, who squeals with delight and immediately smears a bit on her cheek, pretending to be a forest spirit. You roll your eyes, but you let her do it. You remember that thrill. Back at camp, the others are gathered around a pot of root stew. You take a scoop and sprinkle in a pinch of crushed clay. Some laugh, but you know the trick. It thickens the stew and binds with toxins. More than one gutworm has died, cursing your dirt seasoning. One of the elders offers you a bit of dried meat, and you swap it for a scrap of glowing moss. He holds it to his face, marveling at the light. Witch plant, he calls it. Maybe. You've seen it used in rituals painted around doorways to ward off illness or pasted into eye sockets of animal skulls during burial rites. Fringe uses, yes, but useful. You lean against a stone, chewing thoughtfully. The day is winding down. Someone's building a new fire pit near the cliffside. Children are chasing each other with sticks. The girl with moss on her face is now pretending to cast spells on the cooking pot. You watch her and grin. Then you glance toward the tunnel you just left. It's dark now, entrance swallowed by shadow, but you know it's still glowing inside, quiet, alive. You think about how many stories the dirt holds, not just in blood and bones, but in the literal clay that once sat inside your mouth, whispering secrets to your belly. You think about how you know this land in ways no one will ever write down. By taste, by smell, by moss that lights up when the world forgets how to glow. You swallow the last bite of stew and feel it settle like warmth. Survival isn't always sharp spears and roaring fires. Sometimes it's dirt between your teeth and a path that glows just enough to keep walking. You press your breast between 2 fingers and grimace. Not because it hurts, but because it doesn't. The milk isn't flowing, and that means trouble. Your baby, barely a few moons old, squalls against your collarbone. She's hungry, impatient, and already strong enough to twist her body sideways when your chest fails to deliver. You try again, gently massaging downward, but the letdown doesn't come. The midwife said it might happen. Exhaustion, stress, maybe that bark tea you drank yesterday wasn't as harmless as it tasted. Doesn't matter now. You need a solution. Fast. So you do what cave women have always done, you negotiate. You cross the camp with your daughter tied to your chest, whispering gently in her ear, trying to keep her quiet. One sharp wail right now would bring every scavenger in the woods running, human or otherwise. You find the woman you're looking for by the fire, tall, broad, recently nursing her own second child. She sees your face and raises an eyebrow before you even speak. You don't need to explain. You just hold your baby out slightly, offering no words, only the tight, desperate nod that says please. She takes your child. Your daughter quiets immediately as she finds the other woman's breast latches, like she's never known another source. The woman sighs and adjusts her shawl to cover them both. Then she holds out her hand, 2 fingers up. Payment. You reach into your pouch and offer a folded leaf bundle. Inside, a soft dab of honey sealed with crushed mint. Not much, but enough. She grunts in agreement and tucks it away. Milk sharing isn't shameful, it's expected. The tribe treats breast milk like a communal resource, just like fire or flint. If you've got it, you share it. If you need it, you ask. And if you don't ask, you'd better have a very good reason. There's even a rotation system among some of the elder women. You've seen it, an informal network of who nursed who during which season, scribbled with ochre symbols on cave stone. You're pretty sure 3 women helped feed the chief's son before he could even crawl. There's a joke that he still tries to nurse out of habit when he's drunk on fermented root. No one laughs too loudly. It's mostly true. Historians acknowledge wet nursing in later human civilizations, but few talk about how common and strategic it was among cave peoples. It wasn't just convenience, it was survival diplomacy. And cave women. Oh, they weaponized it. You've seen women refuse to nurse an enemy's child even when they had milk to spare. You've seen disputes settled with a single feeding, like last summer, when 2 feuding cousins fell silent the moment one nursed the other's abandoned daughter. No words. Just a silent pact formed in the press of skin to skin. It's not just about the baby. It's about who has control. You thank the woman now with a gentle pat on the arm. She doesn't smile, but she does nod once tight. You'll owe her for this. More than honey. Maybe a bone tool. Maybe a future favor no one will talk about until she needs it. You take your daughter back and cradle her, kissing her temple as she drifts into milk-drunk sleep. You pull your own shawl over both of you, not for warmth, but for quiet, emotional shielding. Back at your corner of the cave, another young woman is dealing with the opposite problem: too much milk. She pads her furs with moss to catch leaks, grimaces every time she bends. Her baby died 2 weeks ago. No one says it out loud, but everyone notices the red in her eyes and the hard press of her lips when someone else's child cries. She's been offering milk unofficially, quietly. You saw her feed a foster baby 2 days ago when the foster mother was off gathering roots. She held the child like it might vanish. You said nothing. Later, you left her a strip of smoked fish. No comment, just a symbol of thanks. There are also feeding tricks passed between women like secrets. You learn which herbs help milk flow: nettles, thistle roots, warmed pine sap. You learn not to drink too much fermented berry juice unless you want the baby to sleep through a feeding and scream awake 3 hours later. You learn how to massage your breast with 2 warmed stones, rolling them in slow circles until the milk drops like rain from a stormy cloud. Some women whisper fringe beliefs too, that milk can hold memories. That if a mother is scared or angry while feeding, the child will carry that feeling forever. You're not sure you believe it, but you still hum while you nurse just in case. Tonight, a quiet ceremony unfolds near the fire. A new mother presents her baby for the first feeding outside her own arms. It's a rite of passage. She sits with the women wrapped in soft rabbit fur, baby swaddled in deerskin, eyes wide and unsure. The other women gather close. They hum a low tune. One by one, they offer their breasts not to feed, but to press the child's cheek gently against each, symbolizing shared care. You watch from a distance, your own daughter curled against you. The sound is soft. The fire snaps once. Someone murmurs the old rhyme, milk from one, love from all. When the forest calls, the child will stand tall. You once thought it was just a chant. Now you understand. Breast milk is more than food. It's negotiation, it's debt, it's politics wrapped in tenderness. And it always has a cost. Sometimes that cost is literal, like when you traded a single feeding for a spot near the dry firewood during a storm. Sometimes it's more subtle, a quiet loyalty, an unspoken alliance. And when a child is weaned, that too is an event. You remember when your sister's boy refused to stop. He bit down hard out of frustration, and she stood up and shouted, "That's it." Then she took a paste of bitter root and smeared it on her breast. He never latched again. He also didn't speak to her for 2 days. Everyone agreed it was a fair trade. Even now, weaning can be performed with ceremony or mockery. Some women fake it, wrap stones in fur, and pretend to nurse, then mournfully bury the bundle under pine needles. Others do it loudly, dramatically, calling out to the forest to witness their child's independence. Some just stop one day and never mention it again. You wonder what your own daughter's weaning will look like. Will she fight you? Will she walk away without looking back? For now, she's content, belly full, head heavy. You tuck her in and rest your hand over her heart, feeling its rhythm. Fast, steady, alive. And if she wakes crying in the night, well, you know where to go. And you've still got some honey left to trade. You drag the point of a sharpened bone across the bark with slow, deliberate pressure, the fibers peeling like slivers of skin. The spear in your lap isn't finished, not even close, but the act of carving its shaft already carries weight. Each groove, each notch tells a story, and this one's laced with spite. You're not just making a tool, you're making a warning. Weaponcraft is art, yes, but also biography. You've seen men decorate their spears with feathers, flint shards, even teeth. Showy. But women carve the stories into the weapon itself. Quiet revenge in every line. You etch 2 notches near the tip. One for your sister's exile. One for the boar that gored your cousin. Below that, a swirl, tight and coiled. That one's for the man who tried to trade you for 3 pelts and a half-rotten mammoth haunch. He didn't succeed, but you're still sharpening this spear with his shoulder bone, so you win. The shaft is dark wood, strong and light, soaked in ash water to harden it. The tip, flint napped, sharp enough to shave skin. You broke 2 stones shaping it, and your palm still bears the cut where the edge slipped. You wrapped it with sinew and a twist of your own hair, because tradition says a weapon bound with blood or hair always finds its mark. You're not superstitious, but you are careful. Historians often overlook the role of women in weapon making, but archaeologists have uncovered countless tools clearly shaped by smaller, more dexterous hands. In your camp, crafting is universal, but personal weapons, those are sacred. You make your own. You name them sometimes. You whisper to them before you sleep. You bury them with the dead or break them in half when revenge is finished. You stand now testing the weight. Balance matters. A crooked spear leans during a throw, shifts on impact. You throw at a stump to check, and the blade bites deep. Not bad. Not perfect, but close. You pull it out with a grunt and check the shaft again. Still straight. Still true. A girl passes you, maybe 10 years old, carrying a bundle of sharpened sticks tied with leather cord. She pauses, stares at your spear, then leans in. "Is that one for someone?" she whispers. You nod. She nods back. She doesn't ask who. Later that night, you sit by the fire spear at your side. Others are eating dried meat, bitter root, something boiled until it barely remembers being food. You chew slowly, eyes on the flames. Your mind's elsewhere. You're thinking about the footprints you saw earlier, too fresh, too close to camp. Someone's been circling. Someone not from your group. You grip your spear. There's a long-standing rule among your people: you don't stab unless it's earned. But you can make someone sweat. You can show them your work. Last year, a woman sharpened a blade from obsidian and laid it across the intruder's path, not to wound, but to glint. Just a flicker of warning. It worked. No one saw the stranger again. You prefer a less subtle approach. You walk to the cave wall and lay your spear flat beneath the main fire circle tip pointed out. That's the message. That whoever you made it for, they're known, marked, coming. Your friend joins you, crouching low. She carries her own weapon, a crescent-edged scraper turned blade stained with berry juice to mimic dried blood. She hasn't had to use it yet, but she will. You both sit in silence, staring, thinking. Then she grins and holds out a stone shard. Want to burn a name into the shaft? You chuckle. Shake your head. No name, you say. They'll know. Later, while others sleep, you test your spear again, this time on bark targets. Quick jabs, short throws. Each strike sinks cleaner. You can feel the balance settling, like it's learning your hand. The weapon isn't finished until it feels alive. You add one more notch, a tiny one, just above the others. This one's for tomorrow, for whatever comes. You don't know yet what it will represent, but you'll be ready. Fringe traditions say you should sleep with your weapon beside you on the first night, that it bonds to your scent. You do. You wrap it in fur. You press the tip to your ankle. You dream of running through ash-covered fields, screaming your name as the spear flies ahead of you like a shooting star. You wake cold and calm. You check your weapon. Still sharp. Still ready. Because cave women don't just wait for danger. They carve its name in wood and meet it with a blade bound in hair and memory. You hum low in your chest as your fingers move across the obsidian shard, tracing its smooth, glossy edge before pressing it to a swelling bruise. It's not sharp, this one's been polished, not chipped, and it's warm from resting against your thigh. The cool touch might ease the ache, or it might just be something to focus on, besides the way your leg throbs from that fall earlier. Then again, the bruise isn't what really needs healing tonight. You lean into the firelight, holding a small bundle of herbs wrapped in rabbit gut, and start chanting softly, just a rhythm, half breath and half thought passed down from your mother's mother. Your voice shakes at first, then steadies. The song isn't meant to heal the body. It's meant to make someone else suffer. This is a curse song. You're not the only one singing tonight. Across the cave, another woman is rocking back and forth, eyes closed, a painted pebble pressed to her forehead. She's whispering something faster than you can follow, another spell, probably older than yours. It could be for healing, could be revenge, could be both. The lines are thin. In your world, words carry weight. Chants and songs don't just fill time, they shift the world. Historians still argue whether these chants were used primarily for spiritual ritual medicine or community bonding. They forget the obvious: you do it because it works. Not always, maybe. Not in a way you can measure with your hands. But sometimes someone gets sick. Sometimes a hunt fails. Sometimes a rival wakes screaming in the night after you hummed her name into the smoke. Coincidence, maybe. But nobody chants without reason. You unwrap your rabbit gut pouch. Inside is a bit of dried moss, some blood from your last cycle, and a scrap of bone, a finger joint from a squirrel that died the same day your sister was insulted. You don't need more than that. Symbols are symbols. You drop them one by one into the fire. The moss hisses, the blood sizzles, the bone cracks with a small pop. You whisper the name. Not loud, just enough for the smoke to hear. That's the thing about cave women, they may not write books, but they absolutely keep receipts. Nearby, the healer stirs a bowl of steaming broth laced with obsidian dust. Not for drinking, for pressing into open wounds, sealing them with a fine black crust that hardens like armor. You've used it. It stings like betrayal, but infection doesn't stand a chance. You ask her for a pinch of powdered stone. She eyes you, then nods slowly. She knows. No words needed. You carry the pinch back to your fire and sprinkle it into the coals. The embers flash blue for just a second. You smile. The curse is sealed. You're not cruel, just practical. It's not like you're wishing them dead. You're just rearranging their odds. But not all songs are sharp. Later, a child burns herself on a rock left too close to the fire. She cries high and sudden, and you're up before her mother can stand. You grab a smooth piece of obsidian warmed just slightly and roll it over the burn in slow circles while singing a different tune, softer, more breath than note. This one is for healing. You sing of cool rain, soft earth, a feather falling into water. The child's cries slow. Her mother mouths the last words along with you. The rhythm matters. So does the touch. You finish with a puff of breath across the stone and tuck it into the child's hand. She holds it like a talisman. You walk away without a word. Back at your own fire, your mind drifts to the old tales of women who could kill with song alone. Not screams, not shouts, just notes. There was one your grandmother claimed who sang a river off its course. Another who sang a fever out of a child's skull and into a weasel that dropped dead 2 steps away. Fringe beliefs, sure. But in your dreams, you sometimes sing, and the world bends. You also remember the woman who used silence as a spell. Never spoke, just stared. And yet people said if she watched you for more than a heartbeat, your bones would ache that night. She died last winter. No one claimed her body. Her name hasn't been sung since. That's the real punishment in your world, not being cursed, being forgotten. So tonight, after your chants are done, and the cave grows quiet, you whisper the names of your dead. One by one, not to curse, not to heal, just to remember. A name is a thread. You tug it and something stirs. In your pouch, you carry carved stones etched with symbols, one for your sister, one for a friend lost in a river, crossing one for the child you never held. You touch them all tonight, just for a moment. Just to remind them that someone still sings. Not every spell is grand. Some are just habits, soft rituals. You chew a particular root before you dream. You walk the same path to the stream every morning. You whistle twice before taking the first bite of food. Call it superstition. You call it strategy. You think of the woman you cursed earlier. You wonder if she's dreaming of smoke. If her stomach twists when she rolls over. If she knows someone's watching. She'll be fine. Probably. Unless she crosses you again. Then you'll sing louder. You kneel in the undergrowth, face inches from a patch of mushrooms that look a little too bright. Yellow caps, white stems, gills like tiny razors. They're beautiful, like something meant to decorate a grave or dig one. You don't touch them. Not yet. Instead, you press your nose close and sniff. There's a scent under the earth, wet bark, old milk, something acidic hiding in the sweetness. You hum low in your throat. If the mushrooms don't recoil from vibration, they're probably safe. Probably. You pluck one gently and break it at the stem. The color stays the same, no bruising. That's good. Or maybe bad. You chew a fingernail and glance at the treetops. A raven watches from a low branch, blinking sideways. Well, that settles it. You take a tiny nibble of the cap, barely a taste, and let it sit on your tongue. Then you spit it out and wait. Cavewomen didn't just know what was edible. They tested the unknown. With guts, with nerve, and sometimes with tragic consequences. You wait 3 breaths. No burning, no numbness. Just an odd tingle. You pop the rest into your gathering pouch, making a mental note to test it again in small doses later. With fire, or boiled, or maybe on the tribe's most annoying dog. Fringe science. You learned all this from watching animals. There's a trick to tracking what beasts eat. Deer avoid certain plants. Rabbits nibble everything. Birds surprisingly wise. You once followed a line of ants to a rotten log bursting with puffball fungus, safe, rich, and impossible to find without them. Another time you noticed a fox sniffing a glowing mushroom and backing away. You backed away too. Historians agree that prehistoric humans likely observed animal behavior closely when deciding what to eat. You know this as law. Your tribe has a saying, "Let the stomachs of beasts die before yours." But your real gift, you're the tester. That's your job. Everyone else gathers known things. You gather maybe things. Mushrooms, seeds, roots that might either nourish or end someone's lineage in a single bite. You chew, you wait, you count heartbeats. Then you either share the knowledge or someone else finds you convulsing in the moss. Today, you're cautious. Last week's root test nearly turned your stomach inside out. You still have that rash, but your last mushroom find saved half the camp. Fat, white-capped fungus that grew under mammoth dung, mild-tasting, long-lasting, and surprisingly filling. They called them ghost bells after you painted their shapes on the cave wall in thanks. You return now to the central fire with your bundle of maybe edible mushrooms. The others look up. The healer raises an eyebrow. You shrug. Could kill us, you say. Could be lunch. No one laughs. You pull a flat stone from the hearth and lay 3 caps on it, then mash them gently with the back of a knife made from carved jawbone. You drop in a pebble of hot coal and let it sizzle. The smell is odd. Everyone leans away, even the baby. You take a spoon and sip the broth. And wait. 10 heartbeats. Your tongue tingles, your stomach growls. No pain. You sit up straighter. 20 heartbeats. No dizziness, no sweat. You grin. I think we live, you announce. Someone claps. You label the pile with a twist of sinew and set them aside. Later, you'll mash them with dried fish and wrap them in leaves for baking. Maybe. Assuming your heart doesn't stop overnight. It's happened before. You remember Pale Eyes, a girl who found a clutch of crimson mushrooms and, eager to impress, roasted them over coals and passed them around. 5 people ended up writhing in fever. 2 never woke. You buried them wrapped in deer hide and no one painted the mushrooms again. You did paint Pale Eyes, though. A warning, not a tribute. Her handprint smeared and reversed on the wall. A symbol for remember this mistake. Even now, you sometimes dream of that moment, the way the fever looked oily and slow. It taught you caution, but not fear. Tonight, another woman asks you about the cloud fungus you found last moon, the one that made her stop vomiting for 3 days. You nod open a pouch and show her the crumbled remains. She offers a carved bead in exchange. You accept. You've become something of a fungus priestess, half shaman, half guinea pig. People bring you moss, mold, bark, strange, bubbling liquids they found under rocks. You taste, you test, you memorize. There's even a debate now in the tribe about whether you feel more than others, if your tongue is gifted, if your belly is blessed, or cursed. You don't argue, you like the mystery. Fringe theories among your people say that some women are born with gut eyes, a second sight in the stomach that knows truth from poison. You lean into it. You've started wearing gut-colored beads. You hum when tasting. You sometimes pretend to faint just to mess with people. You always tell them later. Usually. And sometimes your gut is dead wrong. Like the time you fed everyone a blue root mash that turned out to be a powerful laxative. The cave smelled like regret for days. You still hear jokes about it. You laugh too. Mostly. But your success, it outweighs your errors. Your food has fed sick hunters back to strength. Your bark teas ease cramping and grief. Your fermented mushroom paste. That's what they give warriors before a fight, not for strength, but for the dreams. Because here's the secret. Some fungus doesn't just feed the belly, it opens the mind. You once chewed a red cap under a full moon and spent the entire night convinced the mammoth bones in the wall were singing. You painted the melody the next morning. Others said they saw the same shapes in their dreams. The healer asked you to make it again. You declined. For now. Some doors aren't meant to open twice. But tonight, as you scrape the last of your test batch into a stone bowl, you feel no fear. You feel calm, ill, focused, hungry. You hand the first portion to the healer. She nods, eats it without hesitation. You watch her, count the breaths, still alive. You try a bite, still here. Because cave women didn't have cookbooks, they had guts. And you've got the guts to gamble. You dip your fingers into the shallow bowl of thick, rust-colored fluid and swirl it slowly, watching it catch the firelight in glistening waves. It's warm, your body's warmth, and smells like metal salt and something ancient. You lift your hand, let the mixture run between your knuckles, and then press your palm to the cave wall. A wet slap, a quiet exhale. The mark lingers, your handprint outlined in menstrual blood. Not decorative, not random. This is a message. The others watch silently from behind you. You're not the first to do this, won't be the last, but your timing matters. The red moon just peaked. The hunters returned last night from a failed run, faces sullen, hands empty. Spirits are restless. Bad luck is circling. So tonight you mark the stone. Some say it wards off death. Others say it tempts it. You don't care either way. You do it because it's tradition, yes, but also because it's yours. A way to carve your body into time. You add a spiral around your print using a crushed ochre paste laced with moss. One full turn, then a small crescent underneath. The symbols aren't fixed. They shift depending on who makes them, how heavy the blood was, whether you were dreaming during the bleed. But this one says, "Let the cave speak louder than silence." Historians still debate the true meanings of red handprints in Paleolithic cave art. Fertility, spiritualism, clan identity, none have consensus. But in your world, these prints speak volumes. A rival group once found your cave wall covered in dozens of blood-marked palms. They turned around. No confrontation. No challenge. Just silence, then retreat. Perhaps they saw it as taboo. Perhaps as a warning. Either way, it worked. Blood isn't weakness here. It's authority. And not all blood is sacred. Menstrual blood holds a specific charged power. It's believed to mark thresholds between birth and death, between the known and the dream. You never spill it thoughtlessly. You collect it on moss pads, soft leathers, even bark strips. When the moss is full, it's burned in fire with dried herbs. That's ritual. Today, though, you saved a bit. You look down at the bowl again. Just a thin smear left. Enough for one more mark. You walk to the side alcove, less visible, more personal, and press your palm there. This one's for you. No spiral, no symbol. Just your hand. Alone. You whisper your name as you press it. Soft. Almost swallowed by stone. Behind you, a younger girl watches, eyes wide. She hasn't bled yet. You see the curiosity, the fear. You beckon her forward. She hesitates, then kneels beside you. You offer her a dab of the blood ochre mix and guide her hand to the wall. Her print is faint, small. You add a streak across it with your fingertip, a connection. She smiles. You smile back. She doesn't know yet what this will mean. The cramps, the stains, the way your body cycles with the moon, whether you want it to or not. But she will. And she'll remember this night. The night she joined the wall. Later, the older women gather around the fire, humming. A low sound, slow and pulsing. You sit among them, back straight, feeling the weight of your cycle, not as a burden, but as a beat. A rhythm. A tether. Someone hands you a smoked root to chew. Helps with the flow, they say. Another woman presses a warm stone to your lower belly. You close your eyes, breathing into the ache, feeling the weight of centuries resting inside your bones. There's a fringe belief whispered by firelight that when women bleed together, the cave listens. That the walls remember each drop. That someday after you're gone, your mark will glow under certain moons, visible only to those who share your bloodline. You want that to be true. You think about the enemy marks too, the blood symbols you've made to taunt, not honor. The time you smeared red across a rival clan's trail sign, turning their mark inside out. A symbolic flipping. The message, we bled here first. You follow us, you suffer. They never came again. Blood is versatile. It can mark a mourning, a warning, a rite, a revenge. You once used it to fake a wound, smearing it across your thigh and limping into camp claiming you'd been gored by a wild dog. You wanted a trade delay. You got it. Was it deceit? Maybe. Was it effective? Absolutely. You lie back on your hide belly, still heavy, the pulse between your legs echoing with warmth and ache. Around you, the fire crackles, the chants hum, and somewhere in the shadows, another girl whispers her name for the first time beside her own palm print. You sleep, eventually dreaming of red rivers and stone walls that breathe. And in the dream, your handprint peels itself off the rock turns and presses back, gently, as if to say, we see you. You kneel in the dust fingers wrapped around a forked piece of antler, polished smooth by generations of touch. It fits your palm perfectly, the base worn to a shine, the tips split just enough to form a Y shape that quivers lightly when held steady. Your mouth is dry, your ears are sharp, and your bones ache from the morning's climb. But still you kneel, still you wait. Because you're about to find water. Not by scent, not by animal trail, not even by guesswork. By feeling. The tool is a divining rod, though no one calls it that. To your people, it's a thirst stick, an old piece of antler believed to twitch when near underground streams or spring pockets. Does it actually work? You're not sure, but it's been passed down for longer than anyone remembers, and when you hold it, something inside you does hum. You keep your arms outstretched, elbows bent just so. Your feet are bare grounded, your eyes half closed. You try to become the ground. A soft vibration runs up your wrist. The stick trembles. You move 3 steps forward. The tremble increases. You stop. Here, you press your hand to the dirt. Cool. Not wet, but not dry either. You smile. Water isn't just about thirst. It's about power, territory, future. A spring means security. A spring means children survived the summer. A spring is everything. Historians still argue whether early people used tools or simply followed animals to water sources. But you know better. You've seen the old women crawl across hillsides with nothing but a bone and a gut feeling and find streams no one else could smell. And then there are those other methods. Some swear by the hand twitch trick, spreading your fingers wide over the soil and waiting to feel a pulse. Others drop dry leaves and watch how they fall. You've tried both. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But your method, the antler fork, the half-closed eyes, the silence, it feels true. You dig now with a sharpened rock, fingers working fast, nails tearing against roots and gravel. The soil cools as you go, clumps, darkening, scent shifting to that rich, ancient rot that always means life. You reach a patch that sucks at your fingers when you press. Wet. You call out, voice low but steady. Someone nearby hears. A girl jogs over hair-wild eyes, skeptical. You scoop a palmful of damp earth and hold it up. She grins. Again. You nod. Again. This is your 3rd find this season. You'll mark it now, tie a twist of rabbit gut around a stone spike and push it into the ground. Later, you'll return with fire coals to boil away the surface layer, test for clarity, test for taste. You've drunk foul things before. You've also drunk what you swore was sky melted straight into the earth. Back at the cave, this will earn you a share of the best meat tonight. Maybe a new scrap of hide. Maybe just more respect. Which honestly lasts longer. There's a song they sing sometimes when someone finds a new spring. It starts low and builds with a whistle, mimicking the way water rises from cracked ground. The elder women lead it. You'll hear it later if the water holds. You wipe your hands on your thighs and sit back, exhausted but satisfied. You watch as others begin to dig around your mark, already trusting your instincts. Later, as you rest, someone asks how you really know where to look. You pause, then smile. You listen, you say. You stop thinking. You ask the ground nicely. It's only half a joke. You've come to believe the earth speaks, not in words, not in visions, but in shifts of warmth and sudden chills along the ribs, in the way your heels sink when you stand still too long. It tells you if you're quiet enough. There's an old woman in your tribe who claims the bones of her left foot always ache just before she finds water. She jokes that her toes are little diviners. She also drinks more than anyone else and hasn't been wrong yet. You once watched her sniff the air and declare it's here, then stomped 3 times and pointed to a dry patch that hours later trickled into a puddle. No one questioned it. Fringe knowledge, absolutely. But in a world where the difference between survival and suffering is a handful of clean water, you follow every lead. Some have tried to replicate your skill. They carve their own sticks. They chant. They step where you step, but they don't feel it. You do. You start teaching a young girl, the same one who laughed at you again. You hand her the antler rod and adjust her hands. Loose, you say. Let it move. She frowns, waits, says she feels nothing. Then wait longer. She sticks out her tongue, but she waits. That's the beginning. Back at camp, the water find becomes news. Someone paints a mark near the cave entrance, a spiral beside a dot, your symbol for a new spring. The walls remember. Someone offers you a carved bead. You trade it for dried fish. Later, you lie on your back, watching the smoke curl along the ceiling. The smell of moss water lingers in your nose. You close your eyes and imagine the earth's veins pulsing quietly below, always shifting, always flowing. Some people hunt prey. You hunt thirst. And tonight, the earth answered. You wrap the baby tighter in its swaddle of rabbit fur, pressing her gently to your chest. Your heart beats slow and steady beneath her. She doesn't cry. She hasn't made a sound since you took her. That's good. Quiet keeps you both alive. She's not yours. Not by blood, not by birth, but she is yours now. You glance back once toward the other camp, nestled between the trees, their fire nothing but a distant glow. No one saw you. No one followed. You made sure. You waited for their sleep to deepen, counted their breaths, measured the moment. And then you took her, just like others took before you. Stealing babies isn't shameful. Not when it saves a lineage. Not when it protects the tribe. It's not even stealing, really. It's rewriting. Your people have done this before, slipping into rival groups during lean times when starvation turns kin into threats. You know the signs, the way they huddle tighter around their fires, the sudden silence during the day, the absence of laughter. That's when their infants become vulnerable. When you can take one and give it a better chance. The baby squirms, fists fluttering like leaves. You soothe her with a low hum, one your own mother sang to you, though you barely remember it. You remember the smell of smoke in her hair more than her face. That's fine. You'll teach this child your scent instead. She'll forget the others. Historians remain divided on whether prehistoric humans ever practiced intentional baby adoption or theft between tribes, or whether it was simply the chaos of survival. But you know better. You've heard the stories whispered around firelight. The child with the wrong-shaped ears, who suddenly belonged to the boy who looked nothing like his mother, but carried her laugh. It happens. It always happened. You pass the outer rocks now, the scent of familiar earth rising in your nose. Home. You step inside the shadowed edge of your own cave and hold the baby higher, letting the older woman at the fire see her. She stares for a moment, then nods. She's seen this before. She'll help you smooth the story. You don't say the baby was taken. You say she was found, alone, crying. No clan in sight. Everyone believes you, or pretends to. Either way, the baby stays. You prepare her name Cricket for her soft voice and the twitch of her tiny feet. You paint a black dot on her forehead with soot and egg yolk, a birthmark claimed by your people. It's a lie, but a useful one. Now she's one of you. The other children gather near, curious but cautious. One boy frowns. Her eyes are wrong, he says. You smile. So were yours when you were new. The boy shrugs and wanders off. The challenge passes. Later, you'll mix her in with the other nursing babies. She'll latch on whoever offers first. That's the real magic, how quickly the body adjusts, how milk flows, without asking why. You know what comes next. She'll be woven into stories. Her name will be painted on walls, her milestones marked in stone and ash. The memory of where she came from will fade, not erased, but buried deep like a root under moss. And someday, when she's older, someone might whisper the truth. Or not. Depends who raises her. Depends who remembers. You once met a woman who knew she was taken. She wore it like armor. I'm proof we're stronger than blood, she said. She was the best trap setter in the valley. People still chant her name at nightfall. But not all stolen children stay loyal. You think of Owl Voice, who ran back to her original clan at 15 and slit her mother's throat as proof of loyalty. That story ends with silence and no songs. But her name was scratched into stone all the same. History doesn't care about feelings. You glance down at Cricket, now dozing, tiny mouth-open hands curled like claws. She's peaceful, for now. You press your fingers to her back, feeling each breath like a leaf fluttering. You'll raise her as your own. You'll teach her the paths, the names of herbs, the rhythm of your people's songs. You'll show her how to press ash into wounds, how to carve notches into bone to track days. She'll never know she came from elsewhere unless she asks. And if she asks, you'll tell her you were always meant to be here, even if that's not true. You settle beside the fire, letting your body melt into the warmth. Someone passes a bowl of root mash. You eat one-handed, your other never leaving the baby's spine. The wind outside shifts. The other camp won't follow. They'll mourn quietly, or pretend she was taken by an animal, or curse the stars. You've seen it all, but they won't come looking. Because to come looking means war, and no one wants war in winter. Besides, they've probably done the same. Your people don't talk about it, but bloodlines get blurry fast. Over seasons, children are traded, lost, taken, reclaimed. You once saw two women argue over a boy they both claimed to have birthed. The boy said nothing, just kept chewing bark. Eventually, they shared him. One taught him how to carve bone, the other taught him how to lie. He turned out fine. You wrap Cricket in another fur and lay her on your lap. She stirs. You hum again. There's a phrase carved into the cave wall, passed down so many times, it's half erased. The child that lives is the child that belongs. And in the end, that's the rule. Not whose womb, not whose blood, just who stayed, who lived. You crouch in a thicket near the edge of the clearing, a handful of crushed berries smeared across your cheek, feathers stuck into the braided cords of your hair. You don't move. You don't blink. The birds don't know you're here. Yet. A small finch flutters to the nearby bush, pecking at the frozen seeds, its tiny claws scratching over bark like an impatient child's drumming. Another follows. You tense, letting the branch you've tied with sinew quiver slightly in the wind, just enough movement to distract, not alarm. The trap is nearly set. Your snare looks like an accident, a half-draped vine, a sprig of leaves dusted in pollen, a strip of moss that's just a little too springy. But beneath the moss, a hidden loop waits, hair-thin, silent, deadly. You wove it from rabbit fur and tendon while the others slept. Cavewomen don't always throw spears or chase down game. Sometimes they wait. Sometimes they mimic. You chirp once. Not with your lips, but with your throat, a high, breathy whistle, barely louder than a leaf twitching. The birds pause, heads swiveling, feathers ruffling. The sound you just made, it's not quite right, but it's close enough to fool a juvenile. That's the one you want. One hops closer. You hold your breath. It pecks at the bait, crushed berry mashed into pine resin, sticky and sweet. Then a flutter. A shift. The loop tightens with a snap so soft it could be mistaken for twigs breaking. Caught. You lunge forward and pin the bird gently with your hand. Its wings beat once, then stop. You whisper to it. A quick thanks. And then you twist its neck. Efficient. Quiet. Clean. Historians confirm that ancient humans used snares, traps, and bait to catch birds. But what often goes unspoken is how much of this knowledge belonged to the women. You know every bend in the terrain, every nesting spot, every seasonal route. You've watched them build for generations. You carry the bird back, its soft body still warm in your hand. Back at camp, a young girl asks how you caught it. You show her the feathers you used in your hair, same pattern as the local flock. You show her the resin-stained fingertips. She gasps. She's never thought of mimicry as a weapon. You tell her you don't have to be fast. just smarter than wings. She nods slowly, storing the phrase like a talisman. You prepare the bird carefully. It's not large, but it will stretch. You pluck it feather by feather, laying each one in a flat line beside you. These will be woven into a new shoulder wrap or used to stuff sleeping mats. Nothing is wasted. The meat you skewer over coals, the bones you boil, the sinew you dry. Even the tiny skull might become a charm if you paint it right. Someone once called you the feather witch. It wasn't a compliment, but you liked it. You started wearing more feathers after that. Sometimes red ones, sometimes black. Fringe beliefs in your tribe say that if you wear the feathers of the same bird 3 days in a row, you'll start to dream their dreams. You've tried it. You once dreamed of falling from a tree into the sea, though you've never seen a sea. You carve feather patterns into your tools now. Not for decoration, for intention. You think it helps. At dusk, the others return from a failed hunt, mud-caked, empty-handed. You smile softly and hand them a small bone bowl with the roasted bird split into 3 bites. They eat it like it's sacred. They don't ask how you got it. They know. Bird snares don't make for grand stories. No blood, no heroics. But when it's your snare that fed the baby, that gave the feverish man enough strength to stand again, that's the moment people remember. Later that night, as the fire hums low, you take your finest feather one that caught sunlight just so, and braid it into a strand of hair behind your ear. Not for vanity, for memory. Then you teach the girl how to whistle. It takes her 3 tries, the 4th one perfect. You smear the thick, sharp-smelling paste under your nose and gag slightly. It's strong like wet dog soaked in dead skunk fermented in old marrow. Which is honestly about what it is. You wrinkle your face, blink away the sting, and keep rubbing. Your tribe's signature scent, not flowers. Not pine, not smoke. It's stink. You're preparing for a journey into contested territory where scent matters more than shadow. Animals can smell you before they see you. So can people. And in your world, people do fight by scent. Every group has its own aroma created over seasons, by cooking smoke, shared furs, animal fat rubbed into skin, even the herbs burned to cover menstrual blood. But yours is special. Yours is offensive on purpose. Your people wear it like a warning. We're here, we're bold, and we smell like a swamp that lost a bet. You dip a finger into the clay jar again and swipe more of the mix onto your armpits. Under the fat smear is a secret blend passed down for generations. Skunk oil, boiled mushrooms, moss soaked in old bear urine, a few shavings of smoked wood from the burial fire. It's disgusting. It's brilliant. Because if someone gets close enough to smell you, you want them to flinch. The scent doesn't just mark you, it protects you. Predators mistake it for something bigger, more dangerous, maybe diseased. And rival humans, they learn to steer clear unless they want to go home with your stench on them. Historians know prehistoric people used animal fat and smoke to disguise scent during hunting. But the idea that they crafted identity tribal armor through smell, that's still debated. You know better. You remember the time your scent marked an enemy in the dark. A boy from a rival band tried sneaking close during a festival. You brushed his sleeve as he passed. Hours later, he stank so badly, they cast him out of his own camp, accusing him of rolling in dung. You never even touched him again. Just the oil, just enough. That's scent warfare. Your group refines its aroma before every migration. The mixture changes slightly with each season. In winter, it's heavier on fermented roots. In spring, more sour. Once in a desperate year, you added crushed fish guts. That one cleared the valley for a week. You've also noticed how you can recognize someone without seeing them. The hunter chief's scent is bitter, smoky, burned hair and ash bark. The firekeeper, more resin and pine tinged with mint. The elder who always sleeps by the stone wall, sour, soft, and smoky like she's part of the cave now. But scent isn't only identity, it's also stealth. You've mastered the trick of masking your smell when needed. You chew crushed charcoal and spit it into your palms, then rub it across your neck, blending it with wet leaves. The result? Neutral. Bland. You once lay face down in a stream bed for 6 hours like that undetected, while wolves passed within arm's reach. There's even a fringe method taught by a woman you barely remember. She used to sleep in bird nests, said it changed her scent. You tried it once, got fleas, never again. But it worked. Sometimes you need to smell like nothing. Other times you need to smell like someone else. You've stolen scent satchels from other groups, small bundles of hair moss bark, sweat worn like amulets. You soaked one in water once and used it to trick an animal into thinking a rival tribe was nearby. It snarled, tracked the scent uphill, and vanished. You left quietly in the other direction. Your own satchel hangs at your side tied with sinew. Inside is a strip of your sister's old tunic, some of your dried spit, and 3 fingers of powdered bark you carried across a river once. That mixture, it smells like you, even if you're not there. You've used it to fake your presence more than once. Laid it near camp, then slipped away for a secret meeting. When someone came sniffing, they turned back. You watched from the trees. Tonight, you prepare for another kind of scent game. You're meeting someone under truce, someone from the clan that nearly wiped yours out 3 winters ago. The scent rules are clear, neither of you may smell like death. So you wash, it's rare. You scrape off the paste with a dry reed comb, then scrub with pine ash and boiled lichen. You rinse in the stream, teeth chattering as the cold gnaws at your skin. Then a neutral salve, just fat and mint, no marker. You braid your hair to hold the smell in. The woman you're meeting arrives late. You smell her before you see her earthy, sweet, unfamiliar. She's from a scent clan. They value perfumes. Her hair is braided with flower stems. You greet with a nod. She smells you. You smell her. No one speaks. It's an agreement. You trade dried fish for obsidian. Neither of you mentions the war. Neither of you lingers. But as she leaves, she says, "You used to stink like dead roots." You smile. "I still do." "You're just used to it." She laughs. "Just once." Later, back at your fire, you reapply the old mixture. You smear it under your chin, behind your ears. It settles into your skin like memory. The baby next to you makes a face. You grin. She'll get used to it. Because cavewomen didn't just fight with spears. They fought with smell. And yours, it lingers. You crouch on a flat boulder, back hunched, eyes narrowed, hands, busy tying a line of beetle shells around your forearm. Each one has been polished to a mirror shine and punctured just enough to thread with sinew. When you flex your wrist, they clack like a rattlesnake's warning. You smile. Let them hear. This is armor. Not for looks, for bites. You're heading out to raid a larva pit, and every inch of exposed skin needs to be protected. Ants are fast. Wasps are faster. You've got maybe 2 minutes to scoop what you need before the ground becomes teeth and venom. You smear your neck with ash and sweet root paste, a homemade repellent that works mostly. The ash masks your sweat. The root throws off insect scent. You still get bitten, but not as bitten. Cavewomen like you don't just gather roots and seeds. You raid nests. You track bugs. You fight for protein that's small, squirmy, and surprisingly powerful. You creep toward the pit at the edge of the clearing, where a patch of broken earth signals an ant colony just beneath the surface. You see the signs, loose dirt mounded high, tiny leaves carried in lines, the shimmer of movement like ripples in a pond. This isn't just any colony. It's an old one, which means eggs, larvae, fat, rich, dense with energy. Historians confirm that insects made up a significant part of early human diets, especially during lean seasons. But they rarely talk about the violence of it. You don't just collect bugs, you battle for them. You jam your digging stick into the soil and scoop fast. The earth caves in. White grubs tumble out. You grab them by the handful, stuffing them into a pouch lined with bark. The ants react instantly. Hundreds, thousands, crawling up your arm. You twist your wrist, and the beetle shell bracelet knocks several loose. You swat the others, blow on your fingers, drop your last scoop. Then you run. You dive into the stream nearby, not deep, just enough to wash off the swarm. You come up sputtering cold and victorious. The pouch is sealed. The grubs wriggle inside. A success. You smear more ash on your ankles and inspect the bites. One is swelling already. You spit on it. Add a dash of crushed mint leaf. It'll itch for a week, but you've had worse. Back at camp, you split the catch with another woman, the only one besides you crazy enough to raid wasp nests for their larvae. She once took a sting to the eye and kept digging. You respect her. Tonight, you'll roast the grubs over coals, crack them open, and squeeze the fat onto flatbread. Nutty, smoky, buttery. Your mouth waters just thinking about it. The children love larvae. They chase each other around the fire, pretending to be giant ants. You once saw a boy scream because a beetle crawled across his foot, then beg for more once he tasted it. Fear and hunger often sleep side by side. But bugs are more than food. They're armor. You wear the chitin. You glue beetle backs onto tunics for shine and intimidation. One girl lined her hood with hornet wings. When she turned her head, they shimmered like firelight. No one messed with her. They're medicine. The goo inside certain grubs helps with swelling. Bee larvae mashed with clay draws poison from wounds. Some beetles, when boiled, produce a foul-smelling liquid used to ward off scavengers. You once painted it on a deer carcass to keep foxes away. It worked. Smelled like rot, but worked. And there's strategy. You once crushed red ants into a paste and smeared it along the edge of your rival's sleeping mat. She woke up with a face full of fury and welted eyelids. You said nothing, just offered her some mint tea. She never sat beside you again. Fringe traditions among your people say that ants carry secrets. If you whisper your fears into an anthill, the colony will carry them away. You've done it. Once you even left a carved bone with your bad dreams etched in notches. Buried it. Slept like a stone. Your grandmother used to say bees are the souls of dead women. That's why you never swat them. You let them land, taste your skin, remember? You remember. Tonight, as the sun fades, you add 3 beetle shells to your necklace. 1 for today's raid, 1 for the swollen bite, 1 for luck. You hum as you tie them on the sound, like wings brushing against bone. Someone brings you a roasted grub on a flat rock. You thank them with a nod, split the meat, and share it. Later, you'll lie on your back listening to the hum of insects just outside the fire's glow. You'll feel a crawl across your foot and not flinch. You know what it is. A visitor, a survivor, a fellow scavenger. You smile in the dark, because cave women didn't flinch at bugs. They wore them, ate them, weaponized them. And you're part ant now. You sit in the cave's quietest corner chin, resting on your knees, listening to the water drip. Steady. 1 drop every few seconds, splashing into a shallow bowl carved by time. You're not here for peace. You're here for precision. The drops echo like a heartbeat, and you count them under your breath. This is your bone clock, part cave, part ritual, part trick of rhythm and patience. And tonight, it will tell you how long until the moon hits the ridge and the shadows stretch just right for the signal. You glance toward the wall where a line of notches has been scratched into stone, one for every moon marked by the drip pattern. Some fade into each other. Others are sharp and deep. Those are yours. No one taught you how to track time like this. You watched. You guessed. You paid attention. You learned that when the sun sets behind the jagged hilltop in a certain way, the deer move differently. When the stars cluster tight over the western tree line, the air gets colder the next day. When your own blood comes early, storms tend to follow. You record everything, not with words, but with bone. You pull out your calendar, an old femur smoothed and etched with tiny slashes. Every group of 7 is a moon. Every deep gouge is a significant event: births, deaths, betrayals, good fish runs. You touch the newest mark with your thumb, last night's failed alliance. Historians agree that early humans used lunar phases, seasonal changes, and simple observational tools to measure time. But they often forget the role of women in keeping that time, in managing it, in owning it. You are a timekeeper. You're not the only one, but you are the most precise. People ask you when the first frost will come, when to move camp, when to hold the naming ritual. You've guessed right more than not. That's enough to make your opinion carry weight. Outside, the sky is turning violet. You slide the femur back into your satchel and grab a small stone mirror, polished black. You angle it just outside the cave, careful not to let the firelight catch it. When the last orange shard of sun hits the far cliff wall, the reflection will flash for only a moment. That flash is your signal to someone waiting beyond the ridge. You've used this trick before. Shadows and mirrors, water and drip rhythm. Time isn't just something you count, it's something you use. There's an old woman in your tribe who says stars are bones in the sky. That when you die, your soul climbs into them and watches until the earth forgets your name. You like that idea. It means someone up there still counts for you. You glance at the cave's star map, etched dots and lines near the entrance. It's a mess of constellations, wolves' spears, mother's teeth. Some you understand, some you don't. One you carved yourself, a spiral surrounded by dots. It marks the long night 2 winters ago, when the moon didn't rise for 3 days. You counted the hours by fire shadows alone. People thought you were mad, but you were right. You notice a girl watching you from the other side of the fire. She's young, still raw around the eyes, her hair in loose braids. She saw you counting drops earlier. You pat the stone beside you. She hesitates, then joins you. "Why do you count?" she asks. You tilt your head. "So I don't forget. Forget what that time keeps going, even when we sit still." She stares at the drip. 1, 2, 3. You hand her a bone shard and show her where to scratch. Her first line is crooked. The second is better. You smile. Later, when she sleeps, you slip a small shell into her satchel. It's old, sun-bleached and smooth, and drilled with 5 holes. Your first calendar. She'll find it in the morning. There's a fringe belief among your people that time itself lives in bones. That counting it makes you older faster. You don't know if it's true, but your hands have more lines than your face, and your sleep gets shorter with each season. Still, you count. Because someone has to. Because shadows stretch, drips fall, stars shift, and without someone to remember how long they've been doing it, everything blurs. You feel the final light touch the back of your neck. You lift the mirror. A glint just once flashes out into the trees. You wait. A minute, two, then a faint flash in return. The message is sent. The time is marked. The pattern holds. Because cavewomen didn't just follow the sun. They measured it. In drips, in bone, in silence that counted back. You stand barefoot on the cold cave floor. Arms extended, knees, slightly bent hips, rocking in slow, deliberate circles. Your feet slide on ash and sand, leaving smudges like half-forgotten footprints behind you. Around you, the others sway in rhythm, some with eyes closed. Some staring into the fire, all moving as if the world depends on it. Because tonight is a death dance. You didn't start it. The eldest did, whispering the chant while grinding her heel into the dirt. Her voice was low, almost too soft to catch. Then another joined, then another, and now you. The rhythm builds slowly, not with drums, but with breath. A chorus of exhales, some sharp, some drawn out like sighs from beneath the world. You match them. Your movements grow wider. The circle tightens. The heat rises. You don't know who the dance is for, not exactly. A hunter hasn't returned. A child was born not breathing. A girl vanished into the river mist 3 days ago. Could be for one. Could be for all. Could be for you. Because this dance isn't just for mourning. It's for redirection. For rearranging fate. For bargaining. Historians still debate whether early human dance had religious, practical, or purely communal function. But you've seen it summon more than memory. You felt it shift something. There was the time you danced for a woman thought lost in a snowdrift. She walked into camp before the flames died. Another night, the child with the bent spine stopped screaming after 3 rounds of the trance step. Coincidence, maybe. But you don't ask too many questions when the cave listens. The fire now casts wild shapes against the wall shadows of arms, legs, open mouths. They blur, merge, rise. It feels like the cave is dancing with you. You feel your breath catch. Your hands start trembling, but your feet don't stop. This is what you've trained for. The steps are simple but endless. Left, right, turn, spiral, drop, rise. You don't need to know where the pattern came from. You only need to know what it unlocks. Your aunt once told you, dance like you're opening the ground with your heels. You didn't understand then. You do now. The earth moves if you step just right. Beside you, someone lets out a sharp cry. Not pain, not fear, a release. She's gone under. You know what that means. The trance has started. It spreads like a tide. Bodies sway harder, feet stamp. You close your eyes and follow the rhythm into darkness. Time slips. You see faces that aren't here. You smell moss and blood and lightning. You hear your own name whispered by a voice older than language. You feel your body floating but still rooted. You've left the surface. This is the space where truth slithers in, where you see what you've been hiding, what the group won't say aloud. You see the hunter's foot caught in a stone crevice. The girl in the river not drowned, but watching. You see a traitor holding something behind his back. You see. And then just as quickly, you fall back into yourself. The fire crackles. The dance slows. People stagger to the floor, breathing hard, sweat shining on their brows. Someone sobs. Someone laughs. Someone just rocks in place, arms crossed tight, whispering a name. You sit down slowly. Your legs tremble. Someone hands you a hot stone wrapped in moss. You hold it to your chest and press your forehead to your knees. The dance is done. For now. You once asked an elder how to know when to stop. She said, the cave will breathe again. You wait. Then you feel it, a shift in the smoke, a new rhythm of silence. It's over, but not forgotten. Later, you gather your things. You tuck your dance shell back into its pouch, a smooth stone that you grip during movement painted with spiral lines. You don't know why it helps, just that it does. You think about the girl who danced so hard last season she collapsed and dreamed of her dead sister. She woke sobbing, but calm. She hasn't spoken since. Just paint spirals. You glance at the wall now. Someone has drawn a new one. Fresh soot, still wet. Dancing isn't just for the body. It's for stories, for visions, for secrets the mouth won't keep, but the feet might. Some say certain steps call certain things. A heel stamp for truth, a spin for banishment, a shoulder roll to invite rain. Fringe knowledge, maybe. But the last time you skipped a shoulder roll, the crops failed. You don't skip steps anymore. You drift into sleep with the rhythm still echoing in your bones. Tomorrow may bring grief, or wind, or war. But tonight, you danced. And the cave watched. You spit into your palm and rub it between your hands until the slick sheen feels warm. Across from you, a trade partner mirrors the gesture. Not out of politeness, out of ritual. This isn't a simple swap of goods. This is spit trading, the oldest agreement your people know. More binding than a knot, more personal than blood. And today, it's not just spit you're offering. It's a tooth. A real one, your own, freshly pulled the root, still raw. You place it in the open palm of the woman across from you. She stares at it, then looks at you. No one flinches. She nods and hands you a strip of smoked root laced with crushed beetle, the painkiller you need for your sister, whose leg snapped clean yesterday, climbing the ridge. You tuck the strip into your pouch and exhale. Deal done. To outsiders, it might look strange, barbaric, maybe even unthinkable. But in your world, spit is proof. Teeth are currency. Secrets are traded like beads if you know the right code. You once bartered a sliver of your grandmother's incisor for a night of shelter. Not because the woman you traded with needed a tooth, but because it came from someone important. Prestige trades carry weight. The tooth wasn't just bone, it was history. You still wear one on a cord around your neck, not your grandmother's. A different one, pulled from the mouth of a woman who tried to poison your tribe's water stash. She didn't survive. Her tooth did. It reminds people not to cross you. Historians acknowledge the value of symbolic items in early barter systems, seeds, beads, ochre shells. But they rarely speak of bodily tokens. You do. You live them. Spit is shared during important trades to seal trust. A simple palm-to-palm press, sometimes followed by a shoulder bump or mutual breath exhale. It sounds dramatic? It is. That's the point. There's even a record on your cave wall, a line of dark red thumbprints spiraling out from a central tooth shape. Each thumb belonged to someone who traded during the Great Drought 3 summers ago. Every print was made in spit and berry juice. Everyone remembers. And then there are the gossip trades. You meet under cover of dusk. You bring nothing but a small token, a feather, a shard of bone, a single twist of carved bark. These aren't traded for food or tools. These are traded for words. Who's sleeping where? Who's plotting what? Who tried to leave last night but turned back? You once traded a dried berry for the truth about your friend's exile. Another time you gave away a bit of beeswax for a name, just a name, but one that changed everything. Because secrets shape the camp. More than fire, more than water, you remember the first time you held someone's secret. A girl told you she was pregnant and didn't know the father. She gave you a painted shell, tiny and perfect in exchange for silence. You've never spoken her name since, but you still have the shell, in a pouch, near your heart. There's an unspoken tier system for gossip trades. Low tier who stole a scrap of meat. Mid-tier who carved a symbol next to their name on the wall. High tier who wants someone gone. The highest who plans to make it happen. Those are costly. Once you gave up your favorite obsidian knife to know when a rival clan planned to move. You carved that info into a stick, wrapped it in moss, and buried it near the fire pit. You retrieved it when the timing came. You were ready. They weren't. You keep a collection of trade tokens under your sleeping mat, 5 teeth each from a different tribe. One still carries the scent of pine. Another is flat ground down with age. You don't wear them. You hide them. Because ownership of someone's tooth, that's leverage. That's proof. You can say I knew her. You can say she owed me. You can say I own this truth. Tonight you pass a shell to a quiet woman with sharp eyes. She gives you back a bit of bark shaped like a crescent. Later you press it to your tongue. There's a taste sweet. You smile. It means yes. It means they'll help. A new alliance. Quiet. Real. And if they betray you, you still have her tooth from last season. Because Cavewomen didn't just trade meat and stone. They traded memory, proof, power, and nothing says I remember like a bite mark you can still feel. You kneel in the shadows near the edge of the burial pit, one hand resting on the earth, the other gripping a chipped obsidian blade. Not for digging, for opening. The woman you're burying wasn't your blood, but she was your guide. She taught you how to lie with your body while telling the truth with your eyes, how to catch a story before it slipped into silence, how to name things without naming them. Now she lies still, wrapped in elk hide, her hair braided with moss, and red thread, her eyes already closed, as if she saw it coming. You place the blade beside her, not a gift, a weapon. If she rises again, you want her armed. You draw a spiral into the dirt near her feet, humming low. It's the journey symbol drawn only for the dead and the vanished. You hum 3 tones, one rising, one falling, one flat. That's the farewell. Then you spit on the grave. It's not disrespect, it's release. The body stays, the spirit goes. Cavewomen don't mourn like poems. You prepare. You make the body into a vessel for what's next, whether that's sky soil or nothing at all. You pull 3 tokens from her satchel, a carved tooth, a painted shell, and a single lock of her hair. The tooth you burn, the shell you bury, the hair you swallow. It sticks in your throat. It always does. Historians often list burial goods tools, ochre feathers, but they rarely understand the axe, the part where your body becomes part of the ritual. Every burn is a bond, every swallow a vow. The others gather now, silent as roots. One woman brings the smudge bowl, pine ash and mint. You waft the smoke across the body. Another lays red stones down her spine, a trail for her to follow if she comes back. You murmur her name once into the dirt, just once. The ground accepts it. The young girl beside you stares. Will she walk again? You don't answer. Some do. You remember one who came back wrong, just her eyes watching fire that wasn't lit. Another returned in a dream and whispered where to dig for flint. You listened. You found it. That was enough. You placed the last fistful of earth. No tools. That's the rule. Return her with your hands. It settles heavy. Someone begins the farewell chant, offbeat, ragged, more breath than melody. That's good. The worse it sounds, the safer the dead stay. That's what they say. You join in. Afterward, you draw your mark on the cave wall, 3 short lines, 1 long slash. One of ours gone forward. You sit by the fire and remove her old bone hairpin from your braid. You toss it into the flames. It cracks. You nod. You'll teach her lessons to someone else someday, but not yet. Tonight, you sleep. And if she comes back in a dream, you'll listen. Because cavewomen didn't just bury their dead. They released them. With spit. With stone. With silence that knew how to say goodbye. You sit on a high outcrop knees, pulled tight to your chest, watching the treetops shift and breathe. The wind smells like copper and moss. Something has changed. You're not hunting. You're watching. Not for animals, not for people, for signs. A cracked eggshell beside the river trail. A bird flying west before dawn. The same dream twice in 1 week. You don't dismiss these things. You count them. You pull your cord from around your waist, thick sinew tied with bone beads. Each one marks something you saw ravens scream at midday. Dead fish in the fog. Blood moon that didn't rise. You run your thumb over a fresh knot. That one's for the frog with 2 heads. No one else saw it. You didn't need them to. People come to you now before they travel or take lovers or name their children. Not because you predict the future, but because you notice it forming. Historians know early humans followed stars and seasons, but they forget how much came from watching weird things, from admitting that dreams and dirt and death might be having a conversation, and you just happened to walk in on it. There's a rock you only pass if your right foot tingles. A tree you won't touch after the first frost. A hill you whistle on once so the birds know you're not a threat. No one taught you these things. You learned by repetition, failure, survival. Once you heard the wind hum the name of someone who hadn't yet died. You told no one. 3 days later, he vanished in a snowslide. You tied a bead for it. Another time, a beetle walked in a perfect circle around your foot. That night, a girl fell into fever. You watched her survive. You tied 2 beads. People say you're lucky. You let them believe it. The truth, you track omens. Fringe beliefs say the world sends messages only when it's desperate. That most of the time it's too tired to warn us. But if you're quiet, if you notice, it'll leave little trails. And you always notice. You whisper your dreams to the wind now, not asking for answers, just logging them. If the cave wants to answer, it will. You untie your latest bead, the fog clears, the birds fall silent. It's time to move. Because cavewomen didn't just look for paths, they read the ones hidden in the dirt. 1 knot, 1 twitch, 1 whisper at a time. You walk into the cold morning mist alone but watched. No one follows you past the stone marker at the edge of the clearing. They know better. This is your morning, and your task is one not taken lightly. You carry no weapons, no pouch, just a small stone in one hand painted red. You're headed for the Echo Hollow, where the cave speaks louder than anyone else dares. Not everyone enters it. Some can't. They get too dizzy, or afraid, or silenced by the sounds that bounce back at them, voices that aren't quite echoes, not quite their own. But you walk right in barefoot, slow, letting your breath guide your pace. The air changes when you pass the threshold. Damp, dense, alive. You feel the sound more than hear it. Your heartbeat louder, your footfalls deeper, your own breath somehow borrowed. You hold out the stone and let it tap the wall, once click, then wait. A soft echo returns. Just 1 note higher. That's how the cave answers. You've come here for the final naming, not for yourself. For a child born this week, your sister's 3rd. Still unnamed, still half in the spirit world. In your tribe, children are born between names, and it's up to the speaker, the echo bearer, to call their full name from the cave. That's you. Not because you were chosen, because you listened. Back when you were younger, you found this place while hiding from a storm. The thunder rolled in, and you huddled in the hollow, trembling. When you cried, the cave cried back. When you sang it, repeated your song. Since then, it's remembered you. Historians know Paleolithic people used certain caves for ritual sound, early forms of music, perhaps chants, maybe ceremonies, but they rarely realize how specific and personal the relationship could be. This isn't just a chamber, it's a living memory. You place the red stone in a notch at the wall's base, a tiny cup of erosion that you claim as the asking bowl. You hum the child's first syllable, soft and steady. Ah, na, it drifts through the cavern, bounces, stretches, returns as ah, nas. That final hiss, that's the sign. The cave has added a tail to the name. That's the spirit mark. That means the child belongs to the waterline, to fog and fish and things that slip away unseen. You repeat it again, louder. Ah, na, es. It echoes full and clean, name accepted. You press your forehead to the stone wall. It's cold, but it doesn't resist you. You feel a pulse in the rock, not imagined, but real. The ground here remembers. There's a fringe belief among your elders that each named echo binds a soul to the earth, that if a name is misheard, a child may never fully land. You've seen the results. Children who wander too far, chase shadows, wake crying with no memory. One vanished into fog and returned years later, different. You whisper her name again, to be sure. Anas. Yes. You turn to leave, but not before giving the cave your payment, a piece of your hair, twisted tight and pressed into a crack in the wall. A little piece of you stays behind every time. You walk back slowly. The mist has thinned. As you approach camp, someone spots you and begins to hum the welcoming phrase. Others join. It's not music, it's recognition. You say the child's name aloud, Anas. And just like that, she is. The women repeat it. The name rolls into the walls, onto bark, into smoke. Someone carves it into wood. Someone else presses it into wet clay. Now she'll be remembered. You tuck the red stone into the fire pit, later hidden beneath the coals. No one touches it. They know what it means. You sleep that night with the sound of the echo still pulsing in your ears. And in your dream, the cave speaks again. But this time it says your name, not the name they call you by, the one underneath. And suddenly you understand. You weren't just meant to name others. You were meant to listen for what the earth forgot. Because cave women didn't just survive. They spoke with stone. They listened where no one else dared, and they left names that echoed longer than bone. Now the fire is only glowing coals, soft and red, like the belly of the earth itself. You lie on your side, a fur pulled up to your chin, your breath slowing to match the quiet rhythm of night. The last echoes of the story fade into the shadows above, where smoke once danced against stone and memory carved itself into walls. You see them now, those cave women, not wild, not savage, not stumbling through survival, but clever, intentional, sharpened by hardship and still laughing through it. You watched them set traps with twine and bone, steal babies, bury their dead with teeth and spit and memory. You felt the quiet courage in their routines and the way they stitched their world together using rhythm, myth, and moss. And maybe, just maybe, you understand now why they did things that wouldn't make sense on paper, but felt true in the marrow. Let that settle in your chest as your muscles soften. Imagine the crackle of fire behind your eyelids, the echo of your own breath in a deep, long, forgotten cave. Imagine how long a name might last if it's spoken with care, or how far one whispered truth might travel on a cold, windy night. You're safe now. The stories are held. The bones are counted. The shadows are quiet again. So close your eyes, traveler. Let the stone hold your weight, and dream like the earth is still listening. End of script. Sweet dreams.